Oh my gosh, this is so great.
Welcome to The Pull Bags Back Issue Classics. Join us as we talk about comics from yesteryear, from DC, Marvel, and more. So open your ears to hear our discussion of the older continuities, as the back issue classics are also what's in the pull bag.
Hello and welcome to The Pull Bag. This is yet again another Back Issue Classics episode, and this week we've got a double shot of getting rid of some robots. We've got Transformers Robots in Disguise Volumes 4 and 5 on this Wednesday. Last week you heard IDW TMNT Volume 8 with Joe Reed and myself. I am TFG1 Mike, one of your hosts. You also heard me talking with Chuck from Star Joe's podcast as well in an Origins episode. And a few weeks back, we had Nicole Cyclonus Obsessed Hailstorm on here talking about More Than Meets the Eye. And replacing Ender this time around is LadyWreck. Hello.
Hello, it's good to be back. Woohoo!
Yes.
Well, we did one of the volumes together with Ender that one time, so, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We
Just makes
did
sense.
volumes 1 to 3, actually.
The Bumble baggage. I woke up this morning thinking Bumble baggage, going, I got to make sure that I bring up that, because, you know, it was brilliant.
Yes, Ender has sheer brilliance written all over him. Yeah, you seem to be having some Bumble baggage of your own at this point.
Just a little bit.
Alright, so we are here to talk about Robots in Disguise Volume 4. It collects issues 12 through 16 of the Transformers Robots in Disguise IDW ongoing. The cover for the trade is a reformatted Megatron, Bumblebee, Metalhawk, and Starscream with Bombshell, and yeah, that's it. What do you think of the cover for the trade?
Pretty much, you know, sums up this whole trade, actually. Megatron comes back and things get really awesome. It's the whole year's worth of waiting for, you know, things building to this point, and we're wondering, hey, you know, when is Megatron coming back? Well, this is his big push, in a sense, in Robots in Disguise. So, yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun volume. I'd say it's got all the answers that you've been waiting for the last... I mean, if you had been following it issue by issue, this was when things got good. Got really good.
Very much so. Because, like, I remember when we did way back in episode 33 of the Pullbag, when we did volume 3 of Rid with Ender, like, the end of it was Megatron coming back, and it's like, wait, what? You know, the inside cover of the trade has a very armored up Prowl. He has a whole bunch of guns and everything else.
Yeah.
It looks cool. That's one thing that kind of confused me this whole time is because it's been a while since I've read volumes 1 through 3. I don't remember exactly when Bombshell infected Prowl.
I believe it was an issue, I want to say 4?
Oh, wow. So was it the very beginning?
Yeah, it was it wasn't like really early on, but it was, you know, let me flip through that real quick, because I'm like, that's a good question. When was that? I think it might have been, let me see, if anybody, flipping through it real quick, we'll have to edit just a little bit.
Well, Amy is flipping through, the credits for this is obviously written by Mr. Captain of Continuity himself, John Barber. Pencils are done by Andrew Griffith. Inks by Griffith and Brian Shearer. There was an ink assist by Rick Ketchum. The colors are done by Josh Perez. Letters by Sean Lee and Chris Mowry. Sean Lee is everywhere in IDW.
Oh yeah.
My God, that guy is all over the place because he's in most of the Turtles stuff. So issue number 12. I assume, are you still looking for that stuff?
Yeah, just briefly, real quick here. Yeah, it was. It was. I think it was in actually the first volume. So it was either 3 or 4 when we got it.
Yeah. So since issue 4, Prowl has not been himself. That's.
It seems a little weird because he was...
See, the problem I have is I don't remember what he was like before all of, the flipping tables and having RC murder people and everything else.
You know what? The thing is that it was supposed to be subtle enough that he was being controlled, but he had to be still himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, look, I mean, the way it was kind of explained to me is that Bombshell was basically controlling him in a sense, just like pushing him in different ways. So he wasn't really not being himself, but he was influencing his decisions and then just slowly taking over in that way. So it was supposed to be where he's not necessarily like all Bombshell. It's just Bombshell is influencing everything that he does. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So, I mean, he had to be that way. I mean, enough, because if he had just all out started not acting like Prowl, then they would have all known that it wasn't him. and especially since when in this issue, or in this volume, when he finally says, "How did you know it wasn't me?" It's like, well, because you were subtle enough to not be you, but yet you were you.
Yeah. It's kind of like over in More Than Meets the Eye when Rung figures out that Minimus is actually Ultra Magnus.
Yeah.
So, issue 12, cover A, Beast Wars Megatron. I love how they did this. Honestly, like I was really on the fence. Like I was on board with More Than Meets the Eye. I'm like, okay, Rodimus, he's pretty much not my number one G1 character.
Gotcha.
Like, Rodimus and a ragtag bunch of Autobots and others and non-Decepticons, and everybody else goes off on a space quest. Okay, cool. Robots in disguise. Oh, political. Oh, last thing I need is politics in my Transformers. But it worked, and I liked it.
Yep.
I was really wondering how long it was going to take them to get to Megatron coming back. And I love the Beast Wars design on the body. I think it's awesome. It's mainly his head, really, that reminds me. That's Beast Wars Megatron.
Yeah.
What did you like about this cover, or didn't like about this cover?
Is this the one that we're talking about? That's basically Megatron's like falling apart. Is that,
yeah.
Okay. Because for me, there's Beast Wars. It's like, okay, I can vaguely see it, and I'm like, okay. No, I really liked it because it's like, okay, at this point we had not seen anything about Megatron. He comes out of chaos, he disappears. We haven't seen him since then. And, that was when we had the Devoid thing, and he took it on, and, okay, so then they did the whole blackout of stuff. So we hadn't really seen him for over a year. So to see him this chopped up and wrecked, basically, it was just like, wow, how is he still functioning? Because he does not look like he should be alive, but he is.
Yeah, he looks like he has a Johnny Five right arm.
Yeah.
Because his
Terminator.
right arm is... Yeah, pretty much.
And I think if I remember right, I think people were saying that. It's like, oh, it's like the Terminator from Terminator 1, the first one, where they're like, it's melted down to just like basically the undercarriage skeleton. And that's what he kind of looks like. So.
The one thing I love about this is that John and the artists can homage the design of Beast Wars Megatron without actually having to bring a separate character in. Like, it really bugs the crap out of me later on when they bring in Rat Trap and Waspinator, and it just, I don't know. It's not that I want the IDW continuity to just be strictly G1 stuff. It's not that at all. I'm not trying to be a G-whiner here, but it's just one of those things where it just felt out of place to me when those characters came in. So I do like how they are able to just pay an homage to Beast Wars and Megatron without actually having to bring that character specifically in. And, man, Prowl's pretty beat up.
He's not... Okay, I'm trying to figure out what cover that's... He's not on that cover.
No. I'm already in the... getting into the issue. Prowl.
Okay,
first,
yeah.
top of the first page, he's dead.
Practically. Well,
Yeah.
and just to give a little bit of background here, basically, the issue before this, they went into the Decepticon pen, and he took a face full of explosion, and it really ripped him up, which was, we find later on, kind of planned.
Yeah.
But, hey, he took one for the team.
Yes, he did. Very much so.
I mean, you wouldn't think that he would do that. I mean, it's so not him to do that, but
no.
logically it makes sense. I guess that's the reason why he would have taken it for the team.
You think about it, though, if Prowl's the logical one on the Autobots side, you'd think that he and Shockwave would have more of a rivalry.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to think because sometimes, neck and neck, would he go neck and neck with Shockwave? I'm like, yeah, but that's the next arc, right?
Yeah.
It's the Dark Cybertron thing where he just goes all super villain. Oh, jeez.
So Prowl is badly beaten up. I love Wheeljack narrating.
Yeah.
I love Wheeljack narrating. That is awesome.
That was one thing I really liked about what John did in the first year of More Than Meets the Eye is that he gave...
Robots in Disguise.
Robots
in Disguise.
I'm sorry. It's easy to get those two confused. Sorry.
Yes.
So Robots in Disguise. He gave voices to characters that I didn't expect to hear from, and Wheeljack was one of them. And I really, really liked it, to be honest, because he's a scientist for one, but he just has this distinct voice. And I really think that John channeled that very, very well, and almost gave him it almost made you really want to see more of him in a sense, because he just seemed like he was stepping forward and doing such a brilliant job at doing that. It was just really unique, and I really liked that. I liked hearing that voice. And it's been a while since we've had like a Wheeljack centric story where he was like the center of attention, and yet it worked so brilliantly in Robots in Disguise that, it was just it worked, and it really made it different and unique. So, especially since he plays such a big role on this issue, this volume, in fact.
Yeah. I love the art. On the first page, the panel where Starscream comes in, it almost looks like they were trying to draw the War for Cybertron model of Star. Like, I don't know, Starscream just in that panel where he comes up to Wheeljack, he looks like the War for Cybertron design as far as his body goes.
Yeah.
Which I like. I think it's interesting. So apparently Starscream has some more bad news.
Yeah. He comes in there to tell them, guess who's not dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually pretty cool with how they did the designs. I know that's much different than... I don't recall whether or not Andrew did that consciously or if he said, hey, let's go with the War for Cybertron designs and go from there. Since Prowl does get a redesign in this volume, it was kind of cool to see him drift away from that as well, because I think he tried to keep kind of like close to it, but not like really close to it, because it just goes to his own design when we get the redesign with Prowl. Right. I'm trying to find where that is real quick to check again.
I do love Wheeljack's inner monologue, the narration here. Anyway, that's how I wound up with front row seats for the return of Megatron.
Yeah.
This 2-page / overlay spread, because it's one giant page. It is a splash page, but it also has two. It has actually four inserts.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool. And the name of this story in Chapter 12 is City on Fire.
It's about to get on fire, you mean?
Yep.
Oh, goodness. Oh, crap. I just
And
realized that I have the wrong PDF open. Crap.
oh, um, so we see Megatron, and we see all the other Autobots. Bumblebee's first line: "Don't take a step."
It's even better. I like it. Get that. It's like, this doesn't happen in my city. Autobots, kill him. I just thought, whoa, Bumblebee. Would you ever imagine
Yeah.
Bumblebee being the one to give the kill order?
No. But I do have to say, this scene, it. Oh God, what episode of Beast Wars was that? There's an episode of Beast Wars where Megatron comes to the Axelon, and we see a giant megaphone.
Uh-huh.
And he says exactly what he says here: "I come in peace." And Rhinox replies, "You're about to leave in pieces." This is exactly like it's like John went back, watched that episode of Beast Wars, and almost mimicked this same thing. Of course, Bumblebee doesn't say that exact same thing, but the "I come in peace" line with the Beast Wars Megatron design, and then Bumblebee says what he says: "No, this doesn't happen to my city. Autobots kill him."
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Is that Starscream that says "finally"?
No, actually,
on-
that's Sideswipe. The
Oh,
guy his gun has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger all through the first 3 volumes of Robots in Disguise, and finally he's able to use that gun when Bumblebee gives the kill order. This was like pure gold, pure comedy gold. It was like, hey, this should be a serious moment, but the fact that Bumblebee 1 gives the kill order is hilarious, and then the fact that Sideswipe comes out and says, "Finally." It's just like, oh my gosh, these guys are all, trigger happy, and finally they get to take it out on somebody. Poor Megatron.
yeah.
Poor Megatron.
Yeah, you really do feel bad for the guy. I mean, he's already pretty much falling apart.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess for me personally, you mentioned the other stuff that where Megatron went. I wasn't reading it back then, so like this to me is all new. When I first read these issues, when I first read this trade before the recording and everything else, I had no idea other than my general knowledge of G1 Megatron, no clue what to expect out of him in this series.
Yeah.
And the Autobots are they're ruthless in this.
You kind of can't blame them in a sense, too. I mean,
no, yeah, I understand
they don't trust
that.
the Decepticons. They're trying to keep the Nails from making a lot of dumb decisions. The trust between both factions is just incredibly, incredibly stretched. I mean, there are moments where they do kind of work together, and I think most of that came from the fact that when Cybertron started having issues and stuff like that, where it was them against the planet, then they kind of pulled together. I think enough just to keep things from falling apart completely. But the fact that Megatron comes back just changes the whole dynamic all over.
Yeah.
Which we, of course, see in this volume, because that's exactly what happens, is that the Decepticons are like, all right, Megatron's back. Let's get this shindig back on the roll, It's like... And hey,
let's get back to the war that we never actually fight in.
Exactly, and it's just like, hey, he's back now. Let's go back into our regular habits. Oh, and he was looking forward to that too. I mean, there is absolutely a plan in play here that we find out about in a couple issues. Yeah,
I absolutely love the art, the blast effects.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever added these in out of the artists, I mean, that splash page, well, it's not a splash page, but that full page where you see the full power of the Autobot army, and you have Bumblebee in a little side window. That is just awesome.
Oh, where they've opened fire and
Yeah.
Megatron is taking all the hits and it's going cracker, cracker, cracker. And then you've got little Bumblebee here with this frowny face, just like, okay, take him out. He doesn't look happy. I mean, you think that just the whole situation does not make him happy. I mean, come on. He's that guy that's been trying to be peaceful and now is like, great, Megatron's back. I'm not going to deal with this. Just kill him. Please.
Yeah. The funny thing is, normally when I read comics, it doesn't matter what comic it is. It could be Batgirl, it could be Nightwing, it could be anything. Mm-hmm. I usually have the characters' voices in my head, or the voices that I recognize. Uh-huh. I cannot hear Dan Gilvezan saying any of the lines Bumblebee has said to this point in this issue. I can't hear it. I just can't hear Dan's voice in my head at all.
He doesn't seem to have that voice. I could probably hear more of the War for Cybertron voice that Bumblebee has.
Johnny Young Bosch, yeah.
Yeah, because that just seems... And I know it's not just because of the design.
The look.
Yeah. It's more because I don't envision IDW Bumblebee at this point to be Dan Gilvezan. He just doesn't have that... I don't know. That G1 Bumblebee voice has more. It's more youthful. It's more younger. It's got more of a positive, happy-go-lucky kind of thing to it.
Yeah.
Because that's the character that he was in the G1 series. Now in IDW, that's not who Bumblebee is. He's not been that for a long time. So I don't ever envision him as Dan Gilvezan voice. I think I've kind of envisioned him more that voice, the one for Cybertron. I mean, because they do some pretty dark things. He's done some pretty dark things. He's had to deal with some really interesting things too. So it's Yeah,
he's had to deal with a lot. I remember before it was revealed in the final episode of Prime that Will Friedle was going to be the voice of Prime Bumblebee, I almost wanted them to go with Johnny.
Yeah.
From the games, because that would have made a lot more sense to me, but Will Friedle is fine as well. So we get back into this. They're firing on Megatron, and Needlenose, of all people, says, "No, stop."
And it makes sense even more. Like we don't find this out till I think another couple of months from now. I think Spotlight Megatron is where we find out when Megatron came back, when they were on the asteroid, Needlenose had lost his hands, and he was giving everybody a pep talk on how he was going to get his hands back. So to see this now, I mean, to go back and read it, afterwards go, oh my gosh, because Needlenose was that guy that he kind of looked at and said, that we would, fix things. And he's got his hands back now. So this is almost an act of kind of loyalty in the fact that, Megatron said something directly to him about getting his hands back, and here he's got them. Yeah. But it just, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's so cool.
What is it between George Lucas, James Roberts, and John Barber? They all love chopping people's hands off.
Actually, that was a Nick written story. Oh gosh! Wow. At least Shockwave has his hands.
No. No, he doesn't.
Well, he's got one of them. Whirl didn't even come out with two.
I mean, not. I wasn't speaking of Spotlight Megatron. I was speaking of comparing George Lucas to Roberts and Barber for Robots in Disguise and More Than Meets the Eye. Everybody apparently likes chopping hands off. Because that's all that Lucas does. I mean, Luke got his hand cut off in the prequels. Anakin got his hand cut off. Ratchet's missing his hands because Farmer's
he got
dirty
him back,
little...
though. Farmer lost his. There you go.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of when did John cut off hands. I'm trying to think. I don't think John is included in that group. I think it's just Nick and James.
Nick and James. Okay, well.
They're the twisted ones.
Yeah.
More James than Nick.
You say that because you're a Nick apologist.
I say that because we haven't seen Nick as much, but he's like, hey, James can't take all the spotlight. I've got to get in there too.
you know, but Needle Nose does have a point, and I was really surprised that. What surprises me about John's writing here is that he actually makes the Decepticons and Megatron sympathetic.
Yes, he does.
You never in my wildest dreams would I ever think any single Decepticon is a sympathetic character.
Yeah, but he does it in this, and he does it brilliantly. You're like, come on, Bumblebee, are you really going to kill Megatron? Look at him. And you know, Needle Nose has an absolutely good point. You know, he's not a threat. He doesn't even his arm cannon. I mean, he doesn't even look like he's going to survive this. Luckily, he does. But it's just, you know, the Autobots are going full open fire on this guy. It's just like, yeah. It's like the war might be over, but these guys are still doing really dark things. And you're right. You feel bad for Megatron. You feel bad for Needle Nose too.
Yeah.
By the end of this, you know, volume, the tables turn.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, let me ask you, because you've read the previous continuities and I haven't, has Megatron always had the Beast Wars-like body as far as the face and all that stuff?
No, this was just I think it was just part of the design. This is actually the B-50, or what is it, the bomber, the bomber look that they started. I think it was in Casa's run. I think it was, I want to say it was Alex Milne that kind of made him this. It was supposed to be a temporary body.
Okay.
It wasn't something. This was the one where he was like, it was out of the Aura 13 hyped up stuff that made him have the space bridge in him, that type of thing. I believe it was Alex Milne that pulled it off with his redesign. And that was in the ongoing Decepticon arc. Trying to think what it was called. It was like a 16, 17, 18, 19, that in that area. But yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we first saw it. I take that back. Maybe it was when we first saw it on issue 13. And I think that was the issue that Nick Roach penciled, because that was also the one where we saw Rodimus get his chest completely blown out. And that's where we saw it. So, but yeah, I mean, I think there was a toy coming out and it made sense to do one. I think a few people had said, hey, it'd be great to see him as that. And I don't recall all of the specifics because that was like 2 years ago. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Seems like a long time. But if you rewind the clock that far back, I'd be like, yeah. It was kind of cool. I mean, I kind of liked the new look just because it was different. We'd never seen it before. It was kind of cool to see something new and fresh. But I think by this point, I think we were ready to go back to classic Megatron.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's cool. I mean, I love the homage to Beast Wars Megatron. But yeah, no, we needed to get back to classic. So Needle Nose keeps going on and on about, look at him. He's he nearly died during the Chaos event protecting this world.
He's a hero. Yeah. He's a returning hero. And, you know, Bumblebee, he still has a soft heart. He's like, okay, I guess, let's not kill him. But I want him locked up. I want him locked up and really just locked up.
All I can think of when Needle Nose says he's a returning hero, and I don't know why, is friggin' Aunt May from Spider-Man 2. There's a hero in all of us.
Brilliant.
So yeah, we get, you know, Bumblebee's gonna, you know, like you said, he's gonna have him locked up. They go a step further. Not only do they have him locked up, but they also put this force field shield thing around him that Wheeljack has invented that actually saved his life earlier in another issue. Which you think it was a gimmick, but no, it's got a purpose. There's a couple purposes that are involved here, because we're going to come back to that in issue 16 at the very end of this volume. But Wheeljack is stealing Trailbreaker's job.
Yeah, he kind of is, isn't he? He had to make an artificial way to make a force shield like this. But basically, once he's in this thing, he can't fire in there and get out of it. So it's pretty secure. Which, like I said, Bumblebee's like, secure him. Secure him. Not on my planet. Just... oh, gosh. Wow.
And, yeah, I just look at that body. I mean, how is he ill? I know the spark usually lasts more than the body does, but jeez.
I think it's just a testament to the type of body that they created. I mean, this was created by Shockwave. It was supposed to be it was supposed to involve space bridge technology as well. So I think it just, at least to me, I was like, wow, okay, well, when Shockwave creates something, he really creates something to last. I think it's kind of just a little bit of a testament to that. So, but I like this where he says they're going to confirm his identity, but he's not interested in saving him, so don't intend on fixing that body at all, but, just have him secured. So if he died after this, just because he was that weak, Bumblebee has no intention of healing the guy. It's like, oh, that's so cold, so cold.
Yeah, we get him back to the medical bay, and Wheeljack is looking him over, and even looking at him in the force shield here, we don't see. I mean, we see the general damage that's done to his body, but looking at him up close, oh my god!
Yeah,
like his right arm, it looks like Ravage gnawed on it for a little while.
Rats out in the middle of nowhere. Oh, Turbo Foxes have been nibbling on him for the last couple months.
Yeah.
And even Wheeljack is like, hey, I could save a whole lot of lives by just, accidentally being a little too overzealous in my examination. I'm like, jeez, Wheeljack, really? Oh, man.
The Autobots are
really dark. They're in this gray area that's like, jeez, and I get it. He's a war criminal to them.
Yeah.
He's a war criminal to them. How would I hate making this reference because it's made so often, but the whole Hitler thing.
No, yeah. No, I get it.
Not that
understand
it's the equivalent of, but, because I don't like keeping the guy in the echo,
No.
But the equivalent of that is he's just done some really bad things. So they look at him as if he's like that guy, And
I understand that. I just think that it's times like this, I hate asking myself this, but what would Orion Pax do?
You know the answer to that, right?
Yeah.
He would always give him a second chance, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth.
Yeah, because this version of Orion / Optimus is not asking for anyone's faces.
No.
Because I think that's exactly the reverse. I think all the other Autobots are basically asking for his head on a plaque.
Yeah. Yeah. Faye's version of Optimus Prime is a little bit different. We've all learned to accept this.
Yes.
But yeah, and we find out
they have better actors in the fourth movie.
True.
That's a discussion for a whole other
podcast. Yes, and it would completely derail what we're trying to do here. But we do eventually get to that point where several issues. Well, another year from this volume, we get that conversation between Orion Pax, who then goes back to Optimus Prime, and Megatron, which is where we get the current things going on right now in More Than Meets the Eye. So yeah.
So we get to Bumblebee comes in, asks about his status, and Wheeljack says,
"It's him."
Yeah, it's him. We get to the next part of it, and the page where Bumblebee says, Prime went down that road and it doesn't end the way I want it to.
Yeah, the part where you're going to talk to him? Nope, absolutely not. We know what happened with that one, and I don't feel like it's a good thing to do, so I ain't going to talk to him. Just lock him up and put him in a cage somewhere, throw away the key.
But this panel here reminds me of at the end of Avengers. Basically, what if Robert Downey Jr. was Megatron? Because it reminds me so much of Tony laying there on the ground until Hulk screams at him to wake him up.
Yeah.
Because of how Megatron's face is on the panel.
Yeah.
So
the other thing I had to point out real quick, and this just also goes to show how beat up the guy is. Megatron, how he's like trying to say Bumblebee in the first panel on that page, as Bumblebee. How they did it is just brilliant.
Yeah, it is very much so.
So we go on to the next page, and he starts talking with Metal Hawk about, what Metal Hawk? The guy has to be pricking everybody's conscience left and right just to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
Everybody should be perfect, and, I'm the self-righteous one to, tell you how to do it.
Has Metal Hawk been in any other comics, or is this a character specifically to IDW?
No, Metal Hawk was in, I believe, what was it called? It was I think it was Japanese. Master Force. He was a Master Force character. Yeah, I want to say that he might have been in something else as well. But up until now, up until John took hold of Robots in Disguise, we did not get Metal Hawk until recently. So this is, at least, 12 issues into a run of having Metal Hawk. So he was pretty much a blank character. They kind of filled in made it work for IDW. I do not believe that the Master Force version of him was like this. But that's not, necessarily a bad thing. I mean, he's an IDW version of their own take on that character.
The only reason why I ask is because this panel here where he's saying, "My people, we're going to get caught in the middle of your war again. My people are going to die." His head looks like Prime Bumblebee a little bit to me.
Yeah.
Just the shape of it.
Yeah. I agree. I think it kind of has a cross between the two, doesn't it? Yeah, I think for a while there we were kind of thinking, is he going to be the next leader? I don't know. Metal Hawk is one of those characters that I think I've heard some people think he's a complete douche. I think he means well. It's just his tact sometimes comes off so self-righteous. I mean, even more than how Megatron or Optimus Prime tries to appeal to everybody's good side. Metal Hawk just does it in the wrong way. It comes off more irritating than anything else. But I think he means well. I think his heart is in the right place. The way he comes off is just so... It's in a way that people don't want to hear it.
Absolutely. This page here where we get Metal Hawk, the second panel that we get to after Bumblebee says Metal Hawk, I really thought he was going to say, "Metal Hawk, I don't have time for this."
In previous issues, he would have. I mean, Metal Hawk just comes to jump in here at the wrong time. We're starting to see Bumblebee, who usually has been making all of these really split-second decisions. And granted, he did, just try to kill Megatron, but yet then kind of changed his mind. He's kind of starting to evolve just a little bit. We're starting to see a Bumblebee that's, well, maybe I shouldn't act so rashly so quickly. Which is, I mean, it's a good sign, but it's something that as a leader they need sooner, you know what I mean? Coming back to the whole Bumble baggage thing that Ender has said, I mean, this is also the reason why as a leader he probably shouldn't have been a leader. But it wouldn't have made a very good story if he had been like the perfect leader. I mean, we don't want an Optimus Prime replacement. We want, I think it's telling to have a leader who is very flawed, who continues to make mistakes. It does eventually catch up with him. things do eventually change. But I kind of said, this is the one thing I liked about Robots in Disguise, is that they were brave enough to put a leader in charge that knew absolutely nothing of what he was doing and was making tons of mistakes along the way. That made for really good conflict in the story.
Absolutely. And I screwed the lineup.
Yeah, that's all right.
Metal Hawk, I can't deal with that now.
An Ultra Magnus line. But it works perfectly. Yeah, it would have been awesome. Yeah. It's like, no, wait, you're right. You're completely right. That's absolutely, what somebody's trying to do. We need to figure out what's going on and happen, or what's going to happen, and we need to get ahead of it. And you're right. At this point, it's laying the seeds of, something's going on here. We don't know what, but, we should probably try to get ahead of it before it nips us in the butt. And they don't.
They've lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Ironhide and the Dinobots, the Aerial Bots, Skylynx, Omega Supreme, and now Prowl. Like, outside of Wheeljack, Metalhawk, Bumblebee, and Starscream, what other Autobots are left on this planet?
Obviously not strong enough ones, but these are, of course, all the people they're naming off that they don't really know what happened to. I mean, of course they know about, let's see, Skylynx, he's there, but he's been kind of, his noggin is not quite where it should be because he was out in the signal. And Omega Supreme, he lost his legs and he just got exploded not too long ago, so he's out and down for the count. So, yeah.
Poor Omega.
Omega Supreme cannot get a break.
No, he just can't catch a break.
First he gets put into a cave, and now he gets his legs blowed off. Poor guy.
And then they're talking about the Decepticon losses, Ratbat, the Constructicons, Bombshell, and according to Mirage down at the pen, Shockwave, Soundwave, and the cassettes, the Triple Changers.
It's like somebody wants these guys to go, just tear each other's apart. They're just, picking at the seams of everybody. But, some of these people that they're naming off aren't quite dead yet.
No.
On both sides of the lists.
Yeah, no. Ironhide and the Dinobots are off on a makeshift Dinobot island.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most of those Decepticons, well, Ratbat is absolutely dead. Decepticons,
yeah.
Bombshell, Shockwave, Soundwave, the cassettes, Triple Changers, they may or may not be still alive.
Yep.
But I like the fact that they're having this conversation, because from their point of view, yeah, something's going on, something's going down, and we don't, with the lists getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that does kind of make you wonder, okay, something's going on here. Who do we point the finger at? The mystery has been placed in front of us.
It's easy to point the usual finger at the usual suspect, the one who has anointed himself the chosen one.
Yeah. You'd
That's
think.
the obvious target. Yeah.
He's just that guy that everybody wants to point the finger at. I mean,
Yep.
including, Windblade.
Yep. Yep.
He's just so easy to point the finger at. I mean, Starscream just, begs it, Please let me be responsible for all of these terrible things, even though he's really trying to be responsible for the right things. He's just going about it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will say on this page here where we get to Starscream and his glowing eyes, I'll say one thing. I love how they incorporate the symbols, because there's a giant... It's like one of the Decepticons spray painted a giant black Decepticon symbol on that purple wall in the background.
Yeah. It's very subtle, very very much supposed to be. This is the Decepticon side of things.
Yep.
You're kind of at this point. You're Starscream is like, he keeps wavering between who he's going to be loyal to. It depends on who's going to be loyal to him. He will hang out with the Autobots, the Nails, the Decepticons. You're not quite sure at this point. I mean, he just wants the attention. He wants the power. And he's catering to everybody and getting absolutely nothing from anyone. It's hilarious because he's trying so hard. You know, you want...
Yep.
And then, of course, like I said, we got Spotlight Megatron, and we saw how that dynamic is. He's trying so hard to get above where Megatron has put him for the last, million years as the guy that will just never win.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a testament to how much he's trying so hard, and everybody's like, yeah, whatever. We get the epic speech, and they just laugh in his face and walk away. And it's just like, oh my gosh, poor Starscream. I mean, sympathetic characters, like you said before, he's turned into a sympathetic character because you feel kind of like, yeah, it's Starscream, you're doing it the wrong way, but you kind of like, a star for effort, right?
Yep, absolutely. I do like how the artists have used the War for Cybertron body, because if you look at the one panel where he says, well, we can't have that, what are you going to do? Be inspiring. On the very edge of that panel, it's very much the War for Cybertron design. And then you get back to after he makes the speech, and everybody walks away from him, you get to the next panel where he says, no, it's specifically the G1 head. So he's a G1 head on a War for Cybertron body.
Yeah. Which
is really, really cool and interesting. I find it super creepy when he's smiling. A validation not for the methods. That just creeps me out, the way that he's, hey, let's all be buddy-buddy.
He's so full of himself. It just goes to show Andrew Griffith really knows how to do sleazy.
Yes, he does.
Sleazy Starscream really, really well, because all of his smiles come off as self-centered, sleazy. It's so him, and you're like, wow, in the expression, he just got the right expression.
Absolutely.
So...
I love the line, blow it out your sprocket, chosen one. all I can think of is, okay, where's Spacely? Where's George Jetson?
That's a brilliant line. You're like, nice try, Screamer. Megatron! He's like, ah! I mean, coming out of this, and then, of course, we're looking back on this, then we later get Megatron, the Spotlight Megatron, where you see such the dysfunctional relationship between Starscream and Megatron. I'm sure it was such a slap to the face to have that. I mean, it almost adds more of a depth of how crazy, dysfunctional, and abusive their relationship is, to have everybody turn to the abuser that's been abusing you for your pretty much long existence. That must have been a really low blow.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get back to... so he talks about his people won't follow him. The only friend I have doesn't even trust me. Wheeljack tells him, I trust you. Really?
And they go off and have this nice conversation. I really like this because Wheeljack, you get what you get with him. He's not he's not like a manipulative guy. If he says he'll trust you, then he trusts you. And he kind of does. I mean, Wheeljack has kind of embraced that. Out of all of the Autobots, I think he's the one, I believe, the most that has really embraced this idea that we are all together and in it together. He's that guy that, and they just pull off that really, really well. I mean, he follows Starscream to a point where then he gets interrupted and Starscream goes off to sulk. Well, not to sulk actually, but Starscream goes off to do his thing, and Wheeljack gets interrupted about other things, and so his attention pulls away from the guy that he's trying to convince. Hey, dude, I trust you. Just don't be so down on everything, and
absolutely.
Things get interesting here because Prowl has disappeared. He was in the med bay, and somehow he got out of his CR chamber, and they don't know where he went to. They're like, well, he couldn't have done it by himself. That should have been a clue right there. They're like, well, he's not here. Then they try to find him, and they go try to find him in his own quarters, and guess what? This is the first time they've tried to see him in his own quarters, and it's a dead zone. And I thought, somebody really doesn't want to be seen, does he? But
a lot of somebodies don't really want to be seen.
True. But this is so brilliant because, I mean, now going back and rereading this and going, geez, it's so perfect because he's the head of security basically on the planet. And of course, the head of security would be able to have areas where he doesn't want watched, and his quarters would be one of them, and it makes sense. The black room, his quarters would be where everybody's hanging out. So, yeah. I like the fact that Wheeljack is like hitting the iPad or whatever the pad version is. Like, what's wrong with this thing? It's like, well, dude, if it's blacked out right in the middle, it's not because of the pad. It's probably the person. Think about it. It's Prowl here. So, yeah. So he goes off to go find him, which inner monologue. Yeah, Wheeljack, if you just had this inner monologue little bit before then, you might have avoided the situation that you get yourself into.
Yep.
Oh, goodness. But then we while he's driving past McAdams, we got to step in the McAdams and see how that crew is doing, because riots, things are getting heated outside. The Decepticons, after Starscream fails at his attempt to rally the Decepticons to him, decide that, you know what, we're going to go and start protesting. And tensions are very high. And everybody's aware of it, both on the Decepticon and the Autobot side, because that's why McAdams is getting boarded up. And those people inside are staying there. So.
Yep.
Blur, yeah. Good head on his shoulders, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Blur in comics. I wish maybe Sean Lee or Chris Mowry, the letterers, would basically not slur Blur's letters, but instead of putting a space between your and welcome, have it just be all one sentence. Because I can't hear Machida in my head I'm reading Blur.
I've never considered the IDW Blur to be anywhere near that voice, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. I kind of think that that's something that worked great in G1. I do not think it carries well in comic form. I know that the G1ers out there are just like, blasphemy! But he just does not come across as that guy. He does not come across as that voice at all. I mean, at least in IDW stuff. I've never heard him that guy. I kind of think it's a little bit of a gimmick that he doesn't need to have to be tied to. Right. And I kind of like the fact that that's not what he's tied to. He's more of a sportsy kind of, the way that they pulled him off in the IDW version of him, he seems to be like that sportsman guy that everybody's like, hey, wants to be friends with, especially the Swerve thing, which really works. Less Swerve. But it's just like, it's that guy that everybody wants to be friends with because he was somebody before the war.
Right.
And I just don't hear him as being that, I gotta be really fast.
Yeah. I think there was only one point in the G1 cartoon where Machida ever slowed him down and actually spoke, word for word, one word at a time. And I can hear that kind of thing when he does that. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. Jazz, on the other hand, that's so scat, man. Chili Blur, my man. That is so scat,
Blur,
man.
My man. Chili.
That is so scat, man, Carruthers.
It works for that character. It really does.
It does.
I mean, it doesn't. It's not something that ever gets old to me. Jazz seems to that really, really works, especially when he's sporting a nice big electro bass. And guns.
Yeah.
Chili Blur, my man, chili.
Yeah,
We cool? Chile. We're chile.
Yeah.
They've got to have a cool guy with cool lines, so Jazz just works.
So Blur mentions that he wishes that he found Ironhide out in the wilderness because they could really use the old guy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the Master Assassin shows up. How does she get in there?
She's a Master Assassin. She's a ninja.
Yeah.
She can get into anywhere, right? I like this because this is her backup plan. This is her backup plan. Well, and actually going and reading it a second time, it was like it could be half her backup plan and half trying to get manipulation. But I think it's more toward she really wants these guys to know, guys, hello, I'm going to give you a message, read between the lines. But they don't.
Yep.
Yeah. She was trying to be subtle, but it could work both ways. Maybe she wasn't, I don't know. But I read it and I went, I think she's trying to be both. There's, like I said, there's a secret message in what she's trying to tell them, and they don't get it. They don't get the memo because they show up at the end. You're like, oh gosh, man, you guys had just not shown up that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so
brilliant.
The next...
Don't shoot at anything that's pink,
So in that case, don't shoot at Starscream's shoulder pads.
Yeah. It's glowing purple.
Yeah. He's got energon in his veins.
So we find out where Starscream is off to. He's going to go talk to Megatron. Of course, they're like, no, you can't go in there. He's like, come on. He's like, please, don't tell me that you aren't interested to hear this conversation, right? Oh.
And I love when we get to it, Wheeljack's inner monologue. But I do love Starscream's line, well, well, well.
Yeah. Well, it's time we had a chat.
And then
he comes in there so smug, and the next issue is like, get me out of here, he smiled! It's like, dude, he had absolutely no control of the situation. Starscream, you fool. Don't walk in there unless you know that if he smiles, you ain't gonna pee your pants.
So we get Wheeljack. He's got a bigger mess to clean up.
Not only a bigger mess, but he's off to find Prowl's secret black room, and he rolls right into a riot, basically. In fact, he's the match that lights the riot.
Yeah, Wheeljack, at first I thought he was going to be decent at trying to settle down the crowd when he says, no, it doesn't have to be like this, we can live together.
These guys did not want to settle down. After everything that had been happening, the fact that Decepticons left and right were getting offed, and Prowl was the person that they kept on pointing the finger at. There's no way. I think even the best, perfect little Autobot that came in there and said, "Hey guys, let's be friends." They were just going to get ticked. These are rioters. I mean, I did not in any way or form think that any Autobot could have come in here and calmed them down, because they're upset. They have a right to be, because crap has been happening to them for the last 12 issues.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't matter to them that, Prowl was, had a face full of explosives this last time. The point is that Prowl went in there guns blazing, and a lot of the people in the Decepticon pen supposedly are dead. The Decepticons believe it. The Autobots believe it. Everybody believes it. So tensions are really high. The sad part about it is that Wheeljack is just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yes, he is very much
I don't think anybody else could have been in that position better than Wheeljack. It just worked.
Oh, man. Yeah, and I mean, damn, they decimate him.
Yeah, he's going to get his butt kicked.
I mean, these Decepticons pretty much do exactly what the Autobots did to Megatron.
Yeah.
Wow, that blast is amazing. Actually, no, wait, that's not.
That's not a blast on him. That's
a
when
blast on.
that's when
Yeah.
somebody comes to his rescue. The one
That's
person he's
right.
looking for, which happens to be Prowl in
Prowl.
his redesign. Yeah.
It
It was a good way to end it, but at the same time, it was like, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, I like that because do we know by now that Bombshell is controlling him
No, you don't know
Oh,
that
well.
until I think another issue.
later? Yeah. I do like that, he does say, Decepticons, you are all under arrest. I invite you to resist.
Badass line. Had to have it in there, right?
Yep.
It was
very
good.
much so.
It was a really good kind of hook for the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, okay, stuff is about to go down. Because you don't get a redesign like that and not use it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But there were bigger things to reveal in the next issue. That was just a little taste.
The taste of things to come.
Oh, and things just continue to go. I mean, yeah. This is like everything is set. It's about to go off. And
Yep.
this was that issue. So great way to start this volume though.
Absolutely, absolutely. So at the end of issue 12, we have the B cover in the trade, and it's Bumblebee and a bunch of other. Bumblebee Warpath is the only one I can really make out besides Bumblebee.
What's up?
For issue 13, we've got Prowl on the cover.
Oh yeah. With
A lot of guns.
a lot of guns, yeah.
I mean, those are like Omega Supreme size guns.
Yes.
So we get to, in issue 13, we get to see Starscream and Megatron's chat. And it's mostly Starscream doing all the talking.
Yeah, of course it would just be Starscream doing all the talking because, like, he doesn't know how to, not speak what's on his mind, in a sense. He wants to be in charge, and he doesn't want Megatron to screw it all up. And Megatron is going to do what he's going to do. He's like, he doesn't say anything. He just gives a smirk, and that's enough to just unsettle Starscream in all the right ways.
I mean, it's one of those things where on this page it has 3 panels of Megatron just laying there, and he's just frowning as all hell, and Starscream's
I'm the chosen one. We're going to win because of me. Blah 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 blah. And of course, the irony of that is Megatron's just sitting there going, "You dope. I'm gonna smile right now." Works so perfectly.
Yeah, and Starscream's reaction is priceless. What?
Open the door! Let me out! He moved! He smiled! Ah! He's swimming on the door. It's great.
Oh my god.
Oh goodness. He's got a plan. He's always had a plan. Come on. It's Megatron. He doesn't have to say anything. He's not dumb enough to reveal all his cards. But you know what? Starscream kind of is. Like, you're going to ruin everything. Please don't ruin everything. Smile. Ah, let me out of here. That's great.
I wish Warpath talked a little more.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for wham blammo.
Yeah, and then at this end of this scene, what's going to end up happening before the end of this issue is just going to get his exploded.
Yep.
Yeah. Because things are rioting outside, and they are on their way to free Megatron. And that is exactly where Starscream is with these guys. There's only a small few Autobots that are... I kind of look at it as like their forces are kind of spread thin. They've lost quite a few people that, can help keep things together. And these just handful that are here to keep the the jail cells watched, which happened to be filled with Decepticons like, crap, now my brain is going to not work for me.
The animals.
Give me a second.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Edit!
There's Blitzwing.
Edit!
No edits. There's Blitzwing. There's not Mind Wipe. Damn it! I know who that guy is because I've seen him in G1. We are so not on the verge of anything.
Yes, I know. I'm like going, I'm just flipping through pages going, where is his name? I know they said it.
So yeah, we get to the revolt.
Turmoil. There you go.
Turmoil.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Turmoil, who's like, he's got a turret for an arm.
Mm-hmm.
Who Wheeljack, happened to best, but, hey,
yeah.
I'm sure he's looking for a little bit of payback. And on the way there, we run into, of course, they basically, Starscream wants to leave, and they're like, hey, yeah, we're going to be lucky if any of us make it out of this, because there's a riot on its way here. And I think they get it, they're like, crap, we've got... The video outside is basically showing that they've got people coming right up to their door and they've got a problem. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we get to Prowl and Wheeljack. And Prowl, his alt mode is pretty much a combination of a sleek police car and a armored police carrier.
Yeah, I like the alt mode. I like I like what it turns into. He looks beefy.
Yeah.
He looks like you don't want to mess with him. You really don't want to mess with him.
No.
But I believe that at this point they're on their way to the dark room, right?
I think so, yeah.
He's basically leading Wheeljack out of harm's way.
Yeah.
He's leading him out of the frying pan into the fire. And it just seems like, Prowl, he's helping out his buddy, good things are happening. I mean, the audience is, looking at him as like the good guy that's like just leading his friend out of harm's way.
No.
Yeah.
I don't look at him like that.
I did, because I had no idea what was going to happen next.
I knew something was wrong here because of a few lines. Where are we going? To the Black Room. It's time you learned what's going on.
And everybody's
creeping.
Yay, we're finally going to find out what's going to happen. But you're right. Yeah.
It just
Something's off.
From the perspective of Wheeljack, following along with him, because he's been narrating this whole kind of, 2-issue story here a little bit. I knew as soon as Prowl mentions the Black Room, I don't know what that is, I don't know what the hell we're going to learn there, but I know something's wrong, especially when Wheeljack tells him, you're creeping me out.
Or the fact that he's trying to convince him, look, Wheeljack, it's me. I know I look different, and maybe I've acted a little different, but I'm Prowl. How many steps ahead do I play the game? I mean, he's convincing Wheeljack, which he's doing a really good job of it. I mean, it is Prowl, but it's Prowl being controlled by somebody else. Mm-hmm. But you're wondering just how far that is going, because at this point, we're of course looking back and we know what's going to happen because we've read ahead, obviously, and it's been a good year since then. So, but I remember when I was reading this, going, something's
not right.
Either we're going to find out that he's aligned with somebody, because at this point, everybody was wondering: is he going Decepticon? Is he flipping sides? What's going on with Prowl? And some people were not happy with it. But, I was like, okay, let's see what direction he's going. Because either we're going to find out that he's all on his own and he's going to reveal that he's got an assassin, that he's done all of this stuff, and he's done it for the Autobot cause, or he's just simply gone Decepticon.
Yeah, pretty much.
And of course they leave it hanging. You know, he gets there, he opens the door, click, he says, "Are you with me?" Big blinding light, and then we go to somebody else.
Yeah,
We go back to the riot to
we go back to the riot.
where the McAdams people are trying to keep from getting invaded, and RC, who's now got a knife pointed at Blur's neck because hey, why would we trust this chick, right?
Mm-hmm. She's psycho.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's like, "Hey, I'm much faster than you. I could take you out," and she's like, "Yeah, well, I could take out all these other people before you did that."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "I'm not going to go for you. Of course I'm not going to go for you. I'm going to go for where it really hurts. All the people that you care about." She's so twisted.
What I love about the riots outside trying to get into McAdams is reminds me of like when you see those most shocking or most daring kind of it's kind of these shows are kind of like Wildest Police videos, kind of like that kind of show.
Yeah.
What this reminds me of is people in England arguing over soccer.
There's riots in Brazil or some sort of place because like their soccer team lost.
Yeah.
Or some play was called wrong and they're not happy about it. So I just love the fact that, she's like, hey, she brings in Dirge and Swindle and they're like, what? Huh? What's going on here? Like, I need you to get these guys to headquarters because they can basically prove info that Prowl is not on their side. He's been making mistakes and he's doing dark things, and Bumblebee needs to know it because he's not going to believe me. He doesn't even know I exist. And why would he trust me? And they're like, but he'll trust you because you're Blur, right? You used to be one of them until you quit because, and you owe me because I saved your life when the Constructicons came at you. And he's like, oh, really? Okay. Prowl left you there to die. I saved your butt. So, you owe me. I just love the fact that at that point, and he's like, okay, how do I get out of here? It's like, leave that to me. And she's going to go outside, and, that's where she's like, hey, shoot at anything that isn't pink.
Yeah.
Before she does that, there's guys standing out on the other side of that wall. She puts her knife through there. Yeah. Like she can see through that wall, and, she... Just the comedic factor of that was just funny.
Well, think about this. You've seen a lot of old classic cartoons, right?
Yeah.
Like Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry and all this and all that. I look at this scene and I see a classic cartoon where Bugs Bunny, but Bugs Bunny would be the better example here. It's in one of the ones where it's him versus Gossamer, the giant red hairy monster. And you hear through musicals and sound effects the steps that Gossamer is taking and the steps that Bugs is taking. Mm-hmm. He ends up on a step. He traces Gossamer's outline, grabs a giant mallet and whaps the wall because he can hear him on the other side, and he falls right out. This is exactly what this reminds me of, is because if you think about it, all the people outside are making noise because they want to get in, because they want to, kill whoever's in McAdams. So you'd think that, well, RC's, she might be psycho, but she ain't dumb. She can hear. No. She is old as Ironhide. She hasn't lost her hearing.
Don't mess with her, man.
No, not at all.
Assassin ninja girl, Yep. Yeah. So that's what they're gonna do. She's gonna. We don't actually see how she breaks out of here and gets them through.
Right.
But yeah.
So we get back to Bumblebee. He's telling everybody to go home. Now, do all these people actually have... Do all the Nails and the other Decepticons that aren't in prison, do they actually have homes? Because Iacon doesn't... If Iacon's the only city in Cybertron, it doesn't look as big as it should be, I guess, to me. I don't know. it's just a little strange that he would tell her to go home. Well, do they actually have homes? I don't know. I mean, it's not like you're on a ship and you have hab suites.
Yeah.
So we get Bumblebee and Metalhawk, and they're arguing, and Metalhawk tells him your spark was in the right place.
This is probably the first time Metalhawk's actually said something nice to Bumblebee, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
And it part of it, I think, might be is because Starscream's not there with them, because usually it's the three of them, just building off each other, right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
There's
one, I believe it's a design flaw because I don't particularly like it. It doesn't look logical at all to me that Metalhawk's wings are on his hands or on his wrists.
Mm. It's like he's got large spears off his wrists.
Yeah, you can't exactly fit into an elevator with those things.
He's got to have a harder time than Ultra Magnus, to be honest.
Yeah.
He just slices the door open so he can get in.
Yeah, that's true. So we get the two of them arguing back and forth.
I think it's even more than that. I think Bumblebee's like, you know what, this is all over with. We're gonna have elections, and he basically says that Metalhawk has the numbers. He can take it, and he'd rather see him, than Starscream. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to let's see here. I'm trying to figure out who is doing the narrating now.
I think it is.
Is it still Wheeljack?
No, it's Metalhawk, my friend, flying off to place blame on anyone but himself, I presume. Or maybe the time for blame is over. Maybe he's trying to help. I think it's Starscream.
I think it's Starscream? Yeah, probably.
It sounds like Starscream, but that's not my fault. But that's not my nature, as my friend would be the first to point out. But there are always other ambitions. It's Starscream. He's talking about ambition. He's talking about, he does.
Right.
It's interesting because, I've had this conversation where, especially off Windblade, because we just finished reviewing that just this last month, how Margaret has said that, the closer that he gets to people, the less he trusts people. Mm. Metalhawk is that guy that he gets pretty close to. I mean, not necessarily really close to, but just sees him as who he is. But there's an end game to that in this volume as well. I think he doubts whether or not Metalhawk really trusts him. But I think, or even that he's really his friend. But I think he finally realizes that in this volume that, Metalhawk really is trying to be his friend. But it doesn't amount to much.
No, it doesn't. So we get back to... Okay, so we're with Starscream.
He's back at the jail, basically, seeing that Metalhawk is on his way. But it's kind of a bad timing because, the rioters are just about ready to break in. And they do.
And they do, in a cachuming fashion.
Yeah. And they take everybody out, except they walk right past Starscream as if he's not a threat. I love that. Needle Nose, get out of my way. He's just walking right past him like nothing.
It's like they assume he's still Decepticon.
They kind of do, but in a coward-like way, because he's not joining one way or the other. He's basically become a fence sitter, I guess, in their eyes, because he's hanging out with the Autobots, but he's not lifting a finger to stop them or help the cons. So it's like, I think they see him for what he is he's just, they're not sure where he is, but he's definitely not theirs. He's a coward. I mean, that's why, That's why Turmoil calls him a coward. You know, everybody's
Yep.
calling him a coward. They just like they do not give him any credence. It's like all of the things that he's done for the last, whatever years is everybody's just looking at him like you're whatever. We are not going to pay any attention to you whatsoever. Which I think, in a sense, is one of the worst things that they could do to him, without shooting him or lumping him in with the Autobots, is basically just paying him no mind. I can't think of a worse way for them to slap him in the face any more than that, because he wants so much attention and he wants to be the boss, and yet they look at him as a bumbling idiot. It's great.
Yep.
So Needle Nose comes in here and he frees Megatron, and Megatron gets up. He's like, good. This is, when he said good, I thought of, the Emperor from Star Wars. Good.
Yep.
I just like how he said that. Open the other cells, free your brothers.
If it was only
follow
one
me, my Decepticons.
if it was only one other line, I could make a Simpsons reference. Because if they switch that from good to excellent, I can so see this Megatron, holding his hands up, putting his fingers together. If he
doing
still has fingers,
that thing with that character, yeah.
Yep, good old Mr. Burns, yep. All right, so they are going to go to the Black Room. We now go back to...
That was changing, because at this point we had no idea what the Black Room was going to entail. We were guessing it's not going to be what we expect. Prowl left us hanging. Then we get Megatron saying, follow me to the Black Room. Everything leads to that Black Room. And so that was another gotcha. What? He's reading that and saying, follow me to the Black Room. Things are about to go off. And I was just thinking here, it's like, guess what? It's going to end up being the cliffhanger of the issue, or they're not going to actually show us the Black Room till the next issue.
So frustrating, isn't it?
It's the buildup. It's stringing us along. This was so much. It was so great to read this, because it was just like after 11 issues of setup, to have all of this start kicking off the way it was. It's like, John is like a pressure cooker. Just let it kind of slowly build up to this thing, and then it gets heat, and then it just burns a long time.
Yes, it does. So we get to Metal Hawk, and Metal Hawk is going to be the David Letterman of Cybertron.
He's not funny enough to be David Letterman.
Okay, do we know off the top of our head what month this issue came out?
I believe, let's see, this issue 13, I think it was either January. Yeah, it was January. January of, I don't remember what year. Give me a second. I think it was 13? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, January 2013.
All as I can think of is before, in between, put a line in between People of Iacon and This Is Not the Way. People of Iacon, I send you this message because this is not, basically he's the Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Not the IDW Optimus, but the other one, the one that is more ruthless.
Oh, are we talking about the Bay?
Yes.
Prime? Oh no.
Just in his words only. Yeah, just in his words only. So, I like the data pad that they have, and it's all scratchy.
Yeah, they did a brilliant job pulling that off. I mean, making it look kind of like it's a broadcast. They did a great job with that.
Yeah, really
so he gives a speech. So last issue we had a Starscream speech. This issue we get the Metal Hawk speech.
And earlier this issue, we almost had a Bumblebee speech, even though it failed because everybody attacked.
Yeah. Stop yelling at people from the balcony. Doing it the whole time. It doesn't work.
Oh, God. Bumblebee is Juliet. Who the hell would be Romeo? Talk about some big baggage.
Yeah. Talk about bumble baggage. Oh, goodness.
So we get to the...
Given the speech, and while he's given the speech, we've got Megatron and the dudes going to the Black Room. And they arrive, welcome at last. And he's like, what? No. Starscream was drug along with them. Not necessarily kicking and screaming, but just like drug along with them.
Yeah.
And we get to the Black Room, and we get the reveal. We open up the door. We've got, Starscream's reaction, I think, was probably better than anything else. Megatron's like, warm welcome at last. Because, coming into Iacon to begin with, he got shot at, right? So he's finally going to get his warm welcome in the Black Room. And Starscream sees everything and says, no. And Megatron says, oh, yes, Starscream, oh, yes. And we've got basically everybody that we thought was dead is in the Black Room. And Prowl, who happens to have Wheeljack at gunpoint.
Oh, yeah. That's one hell of a way to...
That was a good way to end that issue. That was like, oh, no, you're not going to make me wait another month for the next issue. And, yeah, we kind of had to. We've got the cassette, Frenzy and Rumble. We've got the Constructicons, Shockwave, Soundwave, Laserbeak. Is that Astro Train in the back?
I think so.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Ravage is there too.
What?
So.
Wait, I saw Laserbeak. Where's Ravage?
Ravage is on the other side of the page.
Oh yeah. I see.
He's
over. He's over by Wheeljack. Yeah, that's awesome. That's one thing I wish.
Oh, and
they
Bombshell
would do.
too.
Yeah.
Bombshell's, or is he in there?
Yeah, he's there. He's right under
right.
Shockwave.
He's between the Frenzy and Rumble.
Yep. That's one thing I wish they would do. I wish they would do I don't know if they would do a miniseries or... I wish they would do a miniseries that has Soundwave setting up each issue in the beginning, but then it would be all about the cassettes going off and doing their own missions. Because, honestly, they don't get enough love. I mean, they don't.
True. Usually they're getting their arms cut off by, RC.
Yeah. And, see, I wish that we didn't have... I wish in the IDW universe that Rewind was not a memory stick. I wish that we had Eject, Ramhorn, and I wish we had the traditional stuff here a little bit more with Blaster. I mean, I love all the stuff with Rewind and Chrome Dome and all that, but I would love to see a Cassette Wars miniseries.
Yeah, maybe they'll get there eventually. I mean, they are doing a Combiner Wars.
Combiner Wars, yeah.
So we'll see what they could just take something outside the box and do that, but yeah. I like the last line, though, that we have of this issue. It's like, thanks to your help, Starscream. Tonight, Cybertron finally, irrevocably belongs to Megatron. So basically, because of Starscream and doing all of his stuff, he's been the distraction to help make it so that they could put things in place like this. And I was like, oh, what a way to stab it to the guy. He's been working for his own means, and it actually was just furthering Megatron's.
Yep. I mean, Starscream, honestly, Starscream is the guy, really, that just can't catch a break.
No, he can't. I mean, he's still not even catching a break. A year later, people are still pointing fingers at him in Windblade. I mean, you think that it's getting old, but it never kind of gets old because he's just that guy that you want to see fail, even though every once in a while he does win. But he does get a break at the end of this volume.
He does.
He does get a break. He just gets a different one at different times for different reasons.
Yeah. So we get Casey and Joanna's cover B for issue 13 in the trade. It's... oh, man.
It's the Megatron and Prowl one?
No, that's for issue 14. Issue 13 was cover B.
That's right. We're doing the
Decepticons in front of McAdams. It was the riots.
Yeah.
But yeah. Issue 14 now. We get to Andrew and Josh Perez. Andrew Griffith, Josh Perez. Megatron and Prowl. And we basically get the first really look at the G1 IDW Megatron.
Yeah. He's back in his old body again. Yeah. He wasn't in that last page, but like we're getting the tease. This was in the solicitations, I believe, and people were like, "Oh, yeah, this solidifies it. Prowls with Megatron."
Yeah.
Especially since you can't see an Autobot signal or Autobot sign on him. You know, it was like everybody was like, Prowl's. This is what got some people that were like, "That's not Prowl. That's not Prowl. It can't." You know, he would never side with Megatron. That got people up and uppity about it. Yeah. But, you know, it kind of did reveal something, but it didn't tell everything. Issue 14 was the one that kind of changed everything. And, you know, it's like, guys, it's John. Give a little bit of faith.
Exactly.
Let him tell his story. You don't know all the details. So.
And that's the thing about these writers, both James and John. Well, James always plants seeds in the very beginning, and then he pays them off 1 to 2 years later. John, the same thing, a little bit, maybe a little bit less than James, but yeah, I mean,
I'd say sometimes even a couple issues later. I mean, he does both, where he's seeded stuff and he plays a long game with some of them, but sometimes there's the 3 or 4 issue arc where he plants a few things and he pays off. I mean, I think with James, he kind of knows how to seed and get quick payoff, and then, of course, the long payoff as well. And I think that John is doing that as well. I mean, we get a longer payoff, of course, with Prowl, but there was a shorter one with Megatron because when he came back, we weren't sure if he was going to officially really come back or if it was just going to be one of those things. When he came back, I remember reviewing it at the time and I remember Matt saying this because he thought it was too soon. He was like, no, this is too soon for Megatron. This is too soon. But then at the end of this arc, everybody was like, yeah, the way that it played out just worked.
Absolutely.
So it was like, you know, seeing that wrap up. I mean, it didn't actually, you know, we thought, okay, I think he came back in 12. We were wondering if issue 13 he was going to proper be back. But
he appeared at the end of 11.
Yeah.
That was the cliffhanger between 11 and 12. At the end of 11 is when Megatron appeared, and then 12 was the payoff of him coming back.
Yeah. Well, and the arc goes to issue 16, which is like, you know, let's see, 12. That was 12 issues in. That was in December. We had been following this for a year. Then we had issue 13, 14, 15. Things kind of wrapped up pretty much in 16. So that was almost half a year. Like, you know, we get that January, February, March, April, May. Like, it was in June by the time we got that. So it's like it didn't just wrap up right away. It drug out a little bit, but it was such a great, you know, 3 issue or not a 3 issue. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issue arc that it just really worked.
Absolutely. And with issue 14, we start off with Circuit for the Iacon News Service.
I love that they're doing this.
Did John intentionally name it the INS? Did he really intentionally name it the INS?
What was the reference to that?
The Iacon News Service, as in the Immigration and Naturalization Service, the INS.
Oh no, I that's a good question. I don't know. It's something we'd have to ask him.
Yeah. So we open with Circuit and Metal Hawk outside of McAdams.
I love the fact that they have these 2 news guys walking around. I mean, if anything, what could make Cybertronian life more Cybertronian life without having a journalist and a newscast team in these 2 characters? And I love it because it brings this human element to them that I think is relatable in a sense. Because, I mean, even as, you know, Metal Hawk is giving this report, they drop him right away for something else happening not too far away. And it's like, wait, I wasn't finished with what I was saying. We got bigger stories to go tell. It just, I liked it. I really liked how they did this. It just seemed to work.
Look at the look on his face. Metal Hawk's like, huh.
Yeah.
Well, fine then. Be that way.
Yeah.
So we get Metal Hawk talking to Bumblebee about Starscream being at the prison with the Autobot security team and the Decepticon mob and all that.
And that's when Blur brings in...
Yeah. Dirge
and Swindle, and things get put in place. They don't read between the lines.
Nope.
Oh, goodness. Poor Bumblebee. Played like a violin.
Yeah. I mean, the guy can't... He can't even transform. He can't even move. I mean, he has got so much baggage on his back. He cannot do a single thing.
Whiplash. He just got whiplash is all he got. And a crunched head. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. You said whiplash. It reminds me of the moment in the very first Justice League episode where Superman flies off really fast and Batman whips his head around. He's like, where's he going?
They didn't tell Bumblebee about the Black Room. That's the other thing that's funny. Is like, okay,
no, they didn't.
Fix it and Wheeljack find that Prowl's missing, and they go to like his room and it happens to be blacked out. They didn't tell Bumblebee because then he turns to Broad and said, "Hey, can you get a hold of Prowl?" And he, of course, doesn't. He says Prowl's not responding in his quarters. Bumblebee, there's no signal at all. It's a dead zone. No cameras. Nothing. They didn't even have the time to tell Bumblebee. Fix-It didn't tell him. Wheeljack didn't send a memo. Poor Bumblebee, still not getting all of the information until after the fact. He's just.
Bumblebee is so in the dark this entire run. He really is. I love how Swindle tries to speak up and tell the story. Shut up, Swindle. This is my moment. Dirge. I love that.
Yeah.
I do really love that.
I love those two. Dirge and Swindle. An odd couple, but they just worked. It was great. Well, I guess I shouldn't get too upset at Bumblebee because Metal Hawk doesn't know anything going on either because he's like, "Hey, I'm coming with you. I'd like answers." So, yeah.
So we get Blur and Sideswipe. Blur is talking about the fact that Prowl tried to use the Decepticons as a police force, or not Prowl. Wait. Starscream and Ratbat, and then Prowl. Okay. And Bumblebee says that doesn't make the slightest bit of sense. Nothing in this story makes sense. It's good.
Yeah, well, it's not supposed to make sense to you, Bumblebee, because if you had all the answers and it made all sense, then you'd already know that what you're walking into is a trap, and you wouldn't do it. I mean, I think if I remember right, I think he does at some point. Says, "I think we're walking into a trap." Well, at least he has enough sense to know that. But if that was the case, then why didn't you bring an army with you?
And I love how Shockwave, even though we've only just seen him recently, I love how he's just standing in the background, not doing nothing.
That's because he has a long game, too.
Yeah, he has his own agenda.
Yeah, and this only furthers his agenda because, again, distractions upon distractions upon distractions. He's playing that game, too.
Yep. This
is a distraction from what he's got going on. And I like the fact that even, I can't remember which issue it was, but they said, they're talking about whether or not they're going to win, and Shockwave says, "Oh, yes, you will win. We will be winning," because he already has seen the future. He knows what's going to happen. Yeah. And they had faith in that because, like, when Shockwave says, "Yes, we will win," you just believe him because he's Shockwave.
Yep, because he's Shockwave.
Yep.
So we get to...
We go back to the Black Room.
We talk about answers. RC's talking about Turmoil and Skywarp, or that they're leading the troops into position. Everybody else should be here any minute. Megatron is talking about his body is not going to last much longer. Do you think Bombshell is stupid enough to try to put some sort of controlling agent, like to put a Cerebro shell in Megatron's new body? Because the way he's looking here, he's holding his hands like Mr. Burns in The Simpsons, and he says, "I believe I can find something more suitable, my lord."
I think it depends on who made it. I think because the original body that he was in at this point that's falling apart was made by Shockwave. So I don't think that there'd be anything in there Shockwave would need to control Megatron like that. It would make sense if it was. I mean, it really kind of would, but I don't know if he'd be dumb enough to try that on Megatron.
Yeah.
But it's Bombshell we're looking at, and he would take an opportunity. I think he might, but I mean, well, if it's something, if it's a seed of something, maybe somebody else could come and build off of eventually. Yeah, I mean, Bombshell isn't really a threat after this volume, at least not right now. I mean, hey, no one stays dead forever.
I don't know. Those Insecticons and Beast Hunters, they kind of stayed dead forever, but then again, that was Margaret, and she loves killing Insecticons.
Yeah. But, you know, and Scrapper has stayed dead for quite a while. I mean, the Constructicon.
Poor Scrapper.
Yeah. Rip. Poor Scrapper.
Poor Scrapper. All right, so after the Bombshell scene and Megatron needing a new body, we get to the driving scene where it's Dirge, Swindle, Bumblebee, Blur, and Sideswipe.
You guys need a bigger boat. Yeah, this is like, again, this is where they say we're walking into a trap. It's not a trap if we know it's a trap. Yes, it's still a trap if you know it's a trap, Bumblebee, because you didn't bring more people with you. So that's one thing that I learned from Optimus Prime. It's not a trap if we know it's a trap. Yeah. You're doing it wrong still.
Yeah. God. What's that old R&B song? Doing it and doing it and doing it well. No, doing it and doing it and doing it wrong. So we get Metal Hawk, and he's here now.
Yeah, he joins the crew, and just as they're taking a moment to say, okay, let's see, you know, where is everybody? Get at their bearings, and they get attacked by Astrotrain. Oh, I love what happens to Swindle. He's like, "Roar!" He's
poor Swindle, man.
Pieces. Wow. It's so comical. It's just his face. It's just like, oh god.
I mean,
it's the calm before the storm. Man, it's really quiet. Yeah, boom. Next page.
It doesn't even, like, his leg got completely chopped off, but it doesn't even show, like, it shows it being chopped off, but it doesn't show where like the connection, like where the point of Astrotrain connecting with his leg to get it off. But man, that is...
Poor Swindle. It's just... I had to laugh at this.
God, if you... I don't even think Fred Willard would have anything to say. I don't know how he would... Well, that's a disadvantage. I don't know. It just...
There was nothing to say, but...
No, his poor... Wow. Oh, man.
And then they start getting shot at, and everybody's it's almost everybody takes a hit. Let's see. Swindle gets his leg knocked off. Metal Hawk gets shot by... I want to say that's...
Let me see here. Metal Hawk in the arm.
Who was it that shot?
That's Blitzwing.
Well, that's what I thought. I was going to say Blitzwing, but I thought, yeah, okay. Yeah.
It's a giant tank.
And luckily they had Sideswipe with them, but, you know, Mr. Gunn himself starts shooting back. And Bumblebee helps Metal Hawk get to his feet, and they start evacuating, basically. Run away! But they're almost at the Black Room at this point. If you get attacked before the Black Room, maybe you should rethink bringing just the handful of people that you are to the Black Room. Yeah. Ravage goes after Sideswipe. They start going into the dark, to get there, and they get on the other side, and okay, we're here. And then he get the look of Bumblebee going, He needed a face palm right there. He really did. Face palm Bumblebee right there going, oh, jeez.
Oh, how could I
Walked
not
into a hornet's nest, yeah.
How could I have not foreseen this?
Mm-hmm. The first thing out, he's looking at everybody. Wheeljack gives him a warning. Bumblebee, remember what's most important. And then, boom! I did not see that coming. I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Poor Wheeljack, his head is gone.
Wheeljack!
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. He, at this point, will stay gone until...
You still haven't seen him back.
Well, we will. Coming up, and I think, is it issue 37? No, not issue 37. We're not even that far. Issue 33.
To date,
I remember
have not seen anything of him being back at all, unless it's in the solicits.
It has. I remember in the solicits for issue 33 for Robots in Disguise, it says something about the return of Wheeljack and him discovering the biggest mystery in Transformers history. The only reason why I remember this is because it sounds like Wheelie wrote the damn solicit.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So here, this is the point that we lose Wheeljack for a good year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. I did not expect that to happen because it was Prowl. I mean, even at this point thinking, okay, he's in the black room, he's doing all this stuff, I still wanted to believe that he was just playing a game.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of, I was like, okay, maybe he's not. He just got real, because I don't know if he would shoot somebody in the head like that just to prove a point. Or just to prove that he's on their side if he wasn't, So I just went, crap! How's this going down, man?
Yeah, that was... Yep. It was crazy. So crazy.
Things got real really quick. I mean, it was just like, they walk in, oh crap, everybody's here, and Wheeljack and... Wait a second, Prowl, are you on his side? Boom! Things just got real.
And all I can think of is Ultra Magnus. You're all alive. you all died.
And he says that. It's like, you all died. It's like,
yep.
Yeah, somewhat exaggerated reports. Yeah.
Where's Megatron? Somewhat indisposed.
Yeah. That's because he's getting a new body.
Yeah.
And it's not somewhat. It's Shockwave turning away, going, do I have to explain this to you?
Yeah, really.
You're mortals, indisposed. So, in fact, I don't think Shockwave says much in any of this other than the fact that Megatron is indisposed. And it's funny that he should be the one to say that, because I'm sure that he'd be like, he's in my way, but he's indisposed right now. Yeah. He's the figurehead. I'm the brains.
Yep. So we get Prowl and Metalhawk going at each other's throats. And then Megatron shows up with his former body and his new body as well. Like,
that's creepy.
That
really
is just
creepy. Really creepy. I mean, if they're going to show, even the body is somewhat gray. Like, I don't know if they were trying to make it like that. I'm guessing they probably were. But the face looks like it's been ripped off. It's really creepy. Creepy.
The ghost of Bayformer Prime came in. Yoink.
No, it kind of reminds me of when Overlord took Springer's face off.
Oh,
how he had it in his palm. That's what it reminds me of. And it's just creepy.
And then the panel where we see Bombshell, you can see the old Megatron body. The head, it looks like there's blood coming out of the top.
Yeah.
Next to Bombshell. That's crazy.
The glow of stuff off of Bombshells.
Yeah.
On the body. It makes you wonder, like, is he going to take this guy out back and eat it? He's gonna take the shell out back and eat it, melt it down for something.
Oh God! What was that line from the movie? Oh, electrons.
Yeah. So this is the issue where we get everything revealed, basically, and then they go into explanations of what has happened. Which there's a lot. It's almost you almost have to go. You really have to almost read it out loud because of everything that's happened. Because they really do a walk down memory lane, and it really does make sense once you get through all of it. So it starts as like, okay,
it starts with Megatron
going back to chaos, proper chaos where we had the void and everybody combined together.
What's interesting to me is as this is going on, we have, you mentioned earlier, figureheads. We have figureheads telling the story, because there's one part of the page where Shockwave actually does pipe up and says, such unity of purpose is uncommonly rare. Subsequent attempts, such as Swindle's ill-fated Stunticon job, proved fruitless. But Megatron's discovery created an opportunity to study the Gestalt phenomenon in nature, as it were.
So basically, it was the fact that when that big that big devoid thing happened, we had all of the Decepticons basically combined into this big thing, and Megatron was the only one that was not combined in it, and that helped, I guess. In lieu of that, he used that to kind of study on how to make combiners combine better. I mean, because they do point out even the stuff that happened in the annuals, where we found out about Monstructor, which was the first combiner, and it, how its mind was crazy, basically insane. And then when they had Devastator formed, they finally found one that actually worked, that worked brilliantly. But Scrapper got killed, so they have an opening, basically. They don't say that, but it's implied. And that's where Shockwave jumps in and says, unity of purpose, and how that the subsequent attempts before that had not worked, and it proved fruitless. But Megatron's discovery created an opportunity to study the Gestalt phenomenon in nature, as it were. So while everybody was at Iacon, Megatron's out in the wilderness. He wakes up and he starts studying this. And because his body had been combined, well, not necessarily his body had been combined, but because of what it was made out of, the Ore-13 and whatnot, he basically became the signal that started changing people. And that's where the aerial bots went out into the wilderness, and he watched them struggle and eventually combined because of the signal that he was sending out. It says, as expected, the process drove them mad, and those you sent after Ironhide and the Dinobots fared even worse. Their egos proved far too strong to be subsumed. They were quite dead now, but the information we learned provided vital research. So, they're basically saying, and we're finding out that, these guys are dead now because of that, because they just couldn't be cohesive together because of that. Well, at least that's what they thought.
Yeah.
And then we find out that, meanwhile, Prowl was helping to do the whole fear thing and get everybody afraid and, ripping at the seams of everything. But he was also being controlled by
Bombshell.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that they were saying is that, let's see, the Titan that they found, the Metro Titan that came back and deemed Starscream the chosen one, kind of put their timetable up a little. It forced their hand, so they had to kind of step it up a little. Let's see, Prowl then admits that he took out Omega Supreme. It wasn't the Decepticons that had done it. Yeah, because Omega Supreme was in the annual, and he was the one that stood against Monstructor when Nova and Jahaxis revealed that they had made a combiner, basically turning Till All Are One, being literal about that, making people all into one, till all are one. And Omega's like, that's not what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Omega's been the guy that's stood against the combiners since that time because of that. So, and he was the only one that would stand against them on that as well. So,
And yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say something that Bombshell would know, because wasn't Jahaxis and him together for a little while, so he would know that.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So we get to Megatron. Constructicons, prowl, all of you, become one. So
well,
we
yeah.
get...
They basically say it's time for you to say goodbye to Prowl.
Yep. Pretty much, yeah.
And Prowl is back for a second. It's like, oh, poor Prowl.
He's back for a split second.
Oh, and here's another thing that was in here that was important. Let's see, where did they set it? Okay. I like how they revealed that. It's like, but Prowl, why? And he's like, I'm not Prowl.
Yep.
It's like, guess who has me? He's like, confronted him, and it was Bombshell that says it. He's been controlling him, basically. And we get the scene again where he has the gun pointed at Bombshell, and it turns out that he had, by that time, had sent a little bug, and he'd been infiltrated, so... Oh, I found Prowl's mind ready for manipulation, already damaged memories, easy to access. My mind is an open data pad, and every action is Bombshells. Yeah. So that was kind of a little... They didn't really expound on that, but we didn't find out. Let's see. We got Robots in Disguise, issue 14, this is the one that we're talking about right now. We got that the end of February. We got a delay in More Than Meets the Eye 14 because it was supposed to come out in February. It didn't come out until March, the first week in March, which was the Overlord issue, where the one called Remembrance Day.
Right.
That was when we found out why we had this little insecurity in Prowl's memory, is because he wanted, before the Lost Light took off, he approached Chrome Dome, I guess a couple of times, because in the first issue he tried to get him to stay and he wouldn't do it. It turns out that he wanted to put Overlord on the Lost Light. They had him at the time. He was locked down and all of that stuff. They still had him from when they took him out at the end of Garrison 9 with the last of the Wreckers. He wanted to put Overlord on the Lost Light, and he wanted Chrome Dome to get inside his head and find out how a Phase Sixer was created. Chrome Dome turned him down, said that he had promised to rewind, that he was not going to do that anymore. And then Prowl tried to kind of manipulate him with this passive-aggressive, well, I guess, what would Rewind think if he found out about all of the stuff that you'd done? And that was enough to push Chrome Dome over the edge, and he basically attacked Prowl, took his memories so that he couldn't use it against Rewind, or against him, and tell Rewind things, and then left. And it created...
But then Overlord used them.
Yes. Well, that happened in there, but the point is that he created this insecurity or this instability in Prowl that Bombshell was able to exploit, basically. And that's why they were able to do what they did to Prowl, because he's got this, instability in his mind now because of what Chrome Dome did. I mean, he deserved it. I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things where it's like two wrongs don't make a right, because it was wrong for Prowl to do that. It was wrong for Chrome Dome to come back at him like that. I think that if Chrome Dome had just been honest with Rewind and said, look, there's more crap that I've done. I have a lot to be guilty for. As long as he stopped doing it, I think Rewind would have been all right with it. But it's that whole It's one of his greatest weaknesses. It's the thing that he's really ashamed of. He doesn't want to go back to doing that type of thing. And then, of course, he ends up doing it anyhow, because that's why issue 14 exists in More Than Meets the Eye. But it was just, they said when they came out with these two ongoings that they would cross over in different and unique ways. And I really thought that was kind of a cool, unique way to kind of have little crossovers between the two of them, where something that happened in one pays off in another, but also pays off in the one that, anyhow, it was just really cool to see that. I really, really liked that. It added, because like I said, we got Robots in Disguise 14 first, so we didn't get More Than Meets the Eye 14 till a couple weeks later, or maybe I think a week or two later. And it almost just created another little thing that made me love these two issues so much.
Absolutely.
Because it just added more to it. So anyhow, they basically say that, hey, time to say goodbye to the Prowl that you knew. And they're like, what? No. That's when he shudders and falls over. And then he's like, B, it wasn't me. How could you not see that? Just go stabbed in the heart. Like, oh,
it's such a soap opera moment.
It is. It's such a soap opera. And that's the thing, is that Robots in Disguise usually doesn't have that soap opera thing going on, right? And this is why I really liked this volume so much. It's because you kind of get those elements of a soap opera going on.
Yeah.
It's almost trying to be More Than Meets the Eye, but it's not trying. It is absolutely Robots in Disguise, but it's just playing off that a little bit. It just makes me giggle a little bit to see that he's got his own vibe going on here, and it's totally working for me. I don't feel in any way or form he's trying to steal anything from John, James at this point, because it's all John. It's all John.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where we get Constructicons Prowl. All of you become one.
Prowlistator.
And we see this whole big scene of various characters, and we get to the panel where it's RC and Starscream, and we see the text coming from off panel now. Devastate, as Megatron reveals the new Devastator. Yeah. Oh my god.
With a prowl face, a prowl head.
That awesome. Dude is huge.
Yeah. That was good. This is a nice, huge, full screen, or full page spread. Not 2 page, just 1 page, but still, it was just like, all right, crap's about to happen. I mean, we've been saying that for the last 2 issues. Right in the middle of the arc.
It's really
huge Devastator, Prowlistator.
Yeah.
We haven't seen these guys combine since Costa.
Yeah. We get to Broadside, and I assume it's one of the reporters, isn't it?
Yeah, he's finding, the reporters are contacting him and telling him what's going. They're trying to find, trying to get information, and Broadside is the one that answers there. He's like, "Hold on, I'll get some eyes on the scene," and then Sky High calls in and says, "Get out of there right now," and Devastator just comes in there, rips the top off, grabs him, and crunches him like a beer can.
Devastator crunches him, and the way that Broadside is designed inside Devastator's fist, all it reminds me of is Unicron and the Junkion ship.
Yeah.
So we get Turmoil. We're ready to secure what's left of the city once you've made your example.
Yep.
And damn, there's a
beautiful 2-page spread of
amazing
Devastator standing over there, just crunching Broadside, while we've got the troops. We've got Turmoil and Skywarp with everybody that's on their group that have been released, just destroying, and Needle Nose, just destroying Iacon, new Iacon, everything that's been built over the last year. It's like, oh, so sad. The whole planet's been reformatted, and they're rebuilding everything, and they are just destroying the only city that they have left.
See, I don't get why they don't, like, I get that Cybertron was once all wilderness, and then it was once cities, and now it's back to being mostly wilderness except for Iacon. Mm-hmm. I don't get why they don't build at least 2 or 3 more cities. And
I think at the time it was like they had a few things going on. Like we had that the Wheeljack issue where they had the explosions happening. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have a lot of resources. I think there's that as well. I think that's actually the biggest reason why they haven't, and that's something that is even coming into play now, even in the Windblade series where they said, you guys are low on resources. We're low on resources back on Caminus. If we all stay this low on resources, we're just going to end up dwindling and just dying out. But if we combine them together, we can, build something. I think it's just low on resources. They've just come off the end of a couple million years war. I think the resources are just really, really diminished. But quite a few of these buildings were just like, they were ships at one point that had been kind of converted back into buildings.
Right.
Is it HQ is in the what's left of Chemia that crashed on the planet during chaos. So
right. So we get to Soundwave. The highest concentrations of the Autobots is in the Med Center. Good. Bomb shall have Devastator annihilate them.
Just attack all the people that are already injured. Let's just eat at the core of their morale at this point. This is all Megatron. I mean, this is his end game. This is why he came back. This is the whole point. They might have moved their timetable up a little bit, but he's pushing for domination of what's left of Iacon or of Cybertron at this point.
Mm-hmm. So we get this Megatron thing, and then we get him talking to Starscream. I had such high hopes for you once, such a belief that one day the Decepticons would serve you. They would have. They really would have.
Yeah, he's like mumbling at this point. He's like, they would have.
Yeah.
Really would have. He's like, I don't anymore. You're never going to be that guy.
And I can oh God, you're right. I can so hear Johnny Young Bosch. What are you going to do with us? You didn't tell us all that just to kill us, did you?
Yeah. Oh, Bumblebee, who had it all I've ever dreamed of, and let it slip away. He grabs him by the face. Who held me in this position and let me live. Killing you is exactly what I shall do. Crunch.
Skunk. Oh my God.
You who show no mercy.
I know, right?
Yeah. Megatron shows no mercy whatsoever. Execute them all. He throws them away.
If you look at this arc that we've been talking about here in Volume 4, in the very beginning, Bumblebee was Megatron, kind of. No, seriously. Basically, Megatron is saying, he's in the beginning of this, he's basically saying, you who are without mercy now plead for it. I thought you were made of steel. It's basically Optimus and Megatron with Bumblebee and Megatron is pretty much what it is.
Except Bumblebee is not Optimus Prime.
No. I know that, but I'm saying just the way that the roles are in this between when Megatron first showed up and now.
It's a thinly veiled version of stuff that we've grown up on, and I think that's why I like it so much, in the sense that it's not like playing off that trope completely, but in a very incredibly subtle way it is. And just sitting here talking about it, that's you see that and you're like, Wow. It's very
And then,
Transformers. Very Transformers.
oh, absolutely. So after that, Megatron says, "Execute them all, raise the Decepticon colors," and you can kind of tell. I can definitely tell the narration has changed off of Starscream to another character because where we get Cybertron is mine and the Decepticon flag, basically. Megatron is turning into Commissioner Gordon as a giant Decepticon symbol.
Yes.
uh,
The
in the
Decepticon
sky.
bat signal up in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of
times
funny
like-
because before, remember when they were at the Decepticon pen, and it was dark. It was really
Yep.
dark, and in the background, it's
Yep.
like dark times. It's like, yeah, and that's how things have flipped. Now the signal is bright and lit and vibrant because they are in control.
Yep. So we get this narration, which everyone should be able to figure out who is talking here. Times like this make a fella feel alive, and I think that's our cue, amigos. Time for us to bot up and save the world. Ironhide, the Dinobots, and the Aerial Bots return.
I didn't see that coming. I mean, I knew they eventually would because we knew. I mean, we hoped that they weren't dead. You get Megatron saying that they were dead. You're like, wait a second. Until I see bodies, I'm not gonna believe that. And then you get these guys on the last page, and it's like, oh yeah, we are proper getting a hit it out here. Superion against Devastator. Ironhide is back. The Dinobots. Next issue is going to be explosive.
Yeah, and the story for this one was
it's a train, and you
Yeah.
can't stop a train. This is on full force. We are
kind of like Astro Train running over
Yeah.
poor Swindle's leg. That might be the best moment out of this entire trade as far as comedy moments
Yeah.
go. So we get to issue 15. Cover A is RC and Megatron and
Before
Bumblebee.
we get too far into this, too,
Uh-huh.
we're on our way out. When he says execute them all, in the background, RC pins Sideswipe to the wall with her fire sword. The last time she's used that, like on somebody like that, was like Ratbat, when she pinned somebody. They died, but I thought that was kind of important to kind of point out because we find out next issue a little bit something else was going on there.
Yeah. And I don't think Sideswipe is pulling a Tito from Oliver and Company. If this is torture, chain me to the
No.
wall.
It's not chained to
No.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay, so we have RC crossing her swords, jumping in the air, being crazy psycho ninja that she is.
And Bumblebee and Megatron on either side of her.
Yep.
I like that cover. I think it's a cool cover.
I thought it was really good too. I was pretty happy with that.
So, somebody is trying, because for the life of me, I don't remember who this guy is. It's not. These are the Aerial Bots, right? Yeah.
On the first page?
Opening. Yeah.
Oh, it's not the aerial bots. It's Medbay.
Oh, that's
Fix It.
right. This is Fix It.
He's like, hey, they had people
Brought some-
coming in
yeah.
and at this point, like, because of the riots, people have been being brought in because they've been injured and whatnot. So it's basically crowded. You got some people in CR chambers. I'm guessing that they had already been there for various reasons. Again, like I had said before, that resources are really low. This is also the reason why Bumblebee, through the whole arc, he still has his cane and everything. So, and that might, again, that's probably explains why they only had one city built at this point. Anyhow, Jazz comes in with a very hurt Mirage, who we haven't seen in, geez, I think since his Spotlight.
Mirage.
So it was really cool to see him.
He looks like somebody ripped him in half.
Oh no, we haven't seen him since All Hail Megatron, when Ironhide punched him. Ironhide's always punching everybody.
Yeah.
And that's at which point the ceiling gets ripped off, and Devastator is there to devastate.
Yep. There's a plan for everything.
Yeah. And now we're getting monologue from Prowl.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you see Skybite.
Yes.
Thankfully, he's not speaking in verse.
No, it's Jazz taking the lead because he's got his guns. He has left his electro base back at the McAdams. I'm sure he's kind of stashed it someplace where it won't get destroyed. And yep, he's there to hold the line, just like everybody else is there to try to hold the line too. Because hey, people are injured there already, and they're just trying to evacuate everybody that they can. And then, what do you know? Devastator comes there to kill them all.
I mean, this is just this is heartbreaking for the Autobots now, because it's like the beginning of this volume, the Autobots had the upper hand.
Yeah.
And of course, Bumblebee went soft. Duh. I didn't expect Bumblebee to kill him right there, but like he goes soft, and because he goes soft because he wants to be able to not have the other Decepticons uprise and do the riots, and they happened anyway.
You know what? It's so interesting because it's like Bumblebee, I mean, he's still at the core of him, Bumblebee. Could I ever see him offing Megatron like that? I mean, he's still Bumblebee. I mean, if he had been that guy that could just like take the last weapon, shoot him right in between the eyes and kill him and kill it over, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was also kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because he's trying not to be the army version, the militia that all of the Nails are seeing them as. I mean, how they're building with, the Nails, when everybody came back, the first thing that they did was kick Optimus Prime off the planet. And of course he volunteered to do that so that they would give the Autobots a chance. Everybody they want these two factions off the planet, and to make an opportunity for that to not happen, and give everybody a chance. Optimus Prime sacrificed himself for that reason, but up until now, I mean, the temperature of Autobot sympathy, what they think about the Autobots, what they think about the Decepticons, have been continually in question. And so as a leader, I think he's balancing so many things. He's trying as best he can to do it the right way, but he's trying to be that guy that also wants the Nails to see them not as bad guys either, or to be like a bunch of tyrants that are trying to control everything. I mean, they're trying to say, look, don't trust the Decepticons, but in a sense, Starscream playing the way that he is playing right, and the Nails are playing right into his hands. And so it's like he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I mean, he's got to be that guy, but he's also trying to be the guy that wants more of the public eye to look at them in a better light. So I'm sure that it was just very difficult. I would have been like, no, just take him out. We'll deal with the fallout afterwards. I mean, even if Metal Hawk takes control, that would have been 10 times better than what happens.
So we get to the med center has fallen. Megatron's like, well, that didn't take long. Secure the city turmoil and use your discretion in regards to surrendering Autobots.
Kill them all.
Kill them all.
That's all Turmoil wants to do is just, no, don't worry about that. We take no prisoners. They're all dead.
And Bumblebee, which I wish they would have kind of kept up with this for a little while, but it pretty much changes back to normal after this panel here. He says, you're not going to get away with this. And then the next panel, his face looks fine.
Half and half. He still looks a little crunched, but there is fallout to this injury. He does eventually succumb after this volume. After they're out in the wilderness, he eventually does I kind of want to say it was a delayed effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, poor Bumblebee's face is all crunched. He's gonna have to get a new face after this.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
I'm not just a bumblebee. I'm a gold bug.
Yeah. Gold bug bumblebee. Blech.
Yeah.
Try to say that really fast. Gold bug bumblebee. Gold bug bumblebee. Gold bug bumblebee. Say it 10 times in a row. Send us your voice audio recordings of it.
Bumblebee goes on to say, Optimus Prime will come back. He'll destroy you even if we all fall.
I love this.
Get away with this indeed, little Bumblebee. Did I crush your cliche inhibitor along with your face? He's taken him and calling himself Orion Pax again, hasn't he? Even now, Shockwave is in communication with his teacher, Jyaxus, who goads Orion into doing our bidding.
Yep. So it makes me wonder, does Megatron know of all of Shockwave's plan? Or just enough to be, hey, go do something with Orion Pax, keep him distracted so we can take Iacon here?
I'm not sure, because it doesn't look like...
I mean, because he doesn't know everything, because if he did, I'm sure he would have been like, no, Shockwave, you can't do that. So I'm sure that he knows just enough.
Right, but like when he says he's I'm wondering if this is a misprint, because he says, is that not correct, Shockwave? But the one on the panel next to it is Soundwave.
No. He's like, is that not correct, Shockwave? And then they're like, they're answering on behalf of Shockwave, because at this point he's stepped out.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I was. Okay, I was thinking, because
Soundwave responding, even though Shockwave. I mean, because these guys, in the past, they've kind of been standing in the background next to each other. I mean, that was even established way back when they were in the bullpen, basically, or in the Decepticon pen, where these guys just, Ratbat was being the voice of the Decepticons, trying to be the senator dude that he was in the past. And then you have Shockwave and Soundwave just standing in the back going, we're just going to sit back and see how this plays out. Those two have always kind of stood there. So to have Soundwave be the guy, likely he's, jumped off to gone to assist Turmoil Soldier, my lord.
It's something we will get to next time in the next volume.
He's not going to go down and help Turmoil and his soldiers. Come on, you guys gotta. It's Shockwave. Come on, guys. Soundwave, wake up! Wake up! Sorry.
What I was gonna say is that it's funny that you mentioned that the two of them are just standing idly by while Ratbat is going off doing his own thing, which is funny because what's going to eventually happen between the two of them, Soundwave and Shockwave, in the next arc. Because the next arc, I think 3 issues of it, is the origin of Soundwave.
Yeah.
And I believe that sets up his rivalry with Shockwave.
Yeah.
I believe it does. If I'm remembering, I could be wrong. We'll have to wait till next time. I could be wrong on that, though.
No, you're right. At the end of the next arc, at the end of the next volume, because we've got, 16. This is the end of
17
18, 19, 20, 21. 20 and 21, I believe. Or was it 21 and 22?
I thought it was 20 to 22. 3 issues.
Yeah. That's where you actually find out, Soundwave's background.
Yeah.
But all of the next volume basically sets up Dark Cybertron.
Yeah, pretty much. The first half of it, 17 to 19, is Shockwave's story.
And then Shockwave's what he's been building. Pulling together threads of what was laid in infiltration, infestation, and devastation. Right? Infiltration. Not infestation. Infiltration, escalation, and devastation. With the ores. And, and what he's got Jyaxus and company doing as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy next time because there's so much.
Yeah. So let's go back to Turmoil, who's taking out
all the Autobots.
People, not just the Autobots, but I'm guessing nails too, left and right. Yeah. He's already taken out the Zedka and Hippo Tank, or was it Hippo Tank and then Zedcub maybe survived? I don't know. Yeah, bad things were happening. Turmoil's just shooting left and right. Take no prisoners.
Yeah, pretty much. He's.
I find it funny that he's talking about them cowering like Andorian rocks, and that's what issue 17 of Robots in Disguise shows us what Andorian rocks or Ardorian rocks are.
Yeah.
Funny. It's like somebody knew the continuity.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Captain
Just a good old captain.
Yeah. Awesome.
So in this whole battle scene, we've got turmoil, and we end up where Jazz and Ironhide show up.
Well, Jazz is at point blank in front of Turmoil's face because he's defending some people, and Turmoil's like, I'm not going to overheat my cannon over you. Needle Nose, take care of this peon. And he's about to shoot Jazz in the face, and we see a pair of jaws coming out of the smoke behind Needle Nose, and we get a very, very pissed off dinosaur Slag coming at him.
Yep.
Brilliant. I loved it. The first time reading this, I didn't notice the teeth. But coming back and reading it again, I went, oh my gosh, the teeth were right there. Why did I not see those? I mean, it's so incredibly subtle, but at the same time, it was like so obvious. So you flip the next page and Dinobots in your face, man. It's awesome. So we get the Dinobots engaging the ground forces of the Decepticons, and they stand, they're starting to take these guys on. Poor Needle Nose gets bit. Turmoil does get away, though, because he's taken care of by somebody else later. But yeah, that's they're like, hey, it's fine. If we get the Autobots finally see the ones that have been lost have now returned to like, oh, good, you're not dead after all.
Mm-hmm. Because honestly, that whole wilderness story stuff, I don't know. I don't want to say anything negative about John's writing, but after a while, the whole wilderness story just kind of got to me. I was like, okay, can we actually get these guys back to the city already?
I think what it was just that we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know the end game. This is pulling all of those threads together. We finally get them back. We finally get to see why they were out there to begin with, and that everything's not as lost as we thought it was, because the last time we saw these guys, the Dinobots were trying to take out Ironhide, and Ironhide was just trying to survive, and he was having a hard time concentrating too. So, and then of course Superion kind of came in there, and then we just didn't know what happened because Superion wasn't even working either.
Yep.
He seemed to be kind of crazy, but they got over it. They're still alive. My guess is that when Megatron stopped using the signal, they weren't nearly as dead as they thought that they were. And they kind of pulled themselves together. So at that point, we've got Superion come in, and he takes on Devastator.
Yeah, that is just amazing. I mean, that Superion versus Devastator, that's great.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever seen that in IDW, these two combiners taking on each other.
No, I don't think so. It's so cool, though. So Superion and Devastator are going at it. Ironhide is trying to be a hero. The Dinobots are getting in on the action, tripping up Turmoil.
Which they should.
Yes.
But then Turmoil's, taking Sludge by the tail and swinging him around and throwing him. There's a lot of really, really good action, basically. And it's really crazy. And meanwhile, the whole time, we've got Prowl kind of interjecting things in there, talking about... Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I arrived on Earth, I saw something more. It wasn't gray, this world, it was colors. And then Spike Witwicky. Reminded me of all the terrible potential contained within all living creatures. Others were just tools to him, devices to accomplish a goal. And I looked at what I had done. And the gray I had allowed into my own life. Yeah. Poor Prowl.
Poor Prowl. and then we get RC and her...
Double cross.
Yeah, pretty much.
She was a spy. Not only is she a ninja and crazy, but she's also a spy. She's playing her own game as well. And that was the only way for her to get close enough to be able to try and make a difference. She is so smart. And it turns out that Sideswipe was in on it too, because when he figured it out about the time that
Hang on 1 second, Amy.
Oh. So this is also where we find where Sideswipe pretty much figures out that too as well, because when she impales him, she kind of didn't impale him in a way that would damage him, and he played along, so he kind of knows that. But then she also goes on to say, you know, stuff about I'm being crazy and people don't trust me and blah blah blah. Basically, that she goes back to all the days of where she was like trapped with Jahaxis, killing him over and over and over, and trying to decide where her loyalty lie. And she's like, I thought about what you were, what you did, and I realized that deep down, all the way to my spark, I really, really hate Decepticons. And then she takes out, I'm guessing, she takes out Bombshell, which takes out, because Bombshell happens to be still controlling Prowlistator,
yeah.
But specifically Prowl.
Yeah.
And when she impales him in the face, that was kind of the reason why this is the closest she's been able to get to find out who's been controlling Prowl, is she wanted to take that person out. So this is the closest she is. She takes him out. She gets him right in the face, stops Prowlistator right in his tracks. So, Yay! It wasn't Superion. It was RC against Devastator. She took him out. And that quite literally just shuts down Devastator. He's out for the count.
Yep.
And then the Autobots start pushing back at the Decepticons, and it's kind of cool. It's like, hey, you ready? And he's like, yeah, I was getting a little uncomfortable hanging around like this. That's when I have to say Sideswipe is just so much fun.
Yeah.
Bring out the guns. He's finally happy again.
Yeah. Sideswipe is firing on all cylinders. Nothing in the universe I'd rather be shooting at.
Somebody take out the sword so he doesn't have to get a target on the wall.
Yeah. And then of course Megatron basically fires back oh my god. The fusion cannon color. Oh, so good. So good, because you got all the explosions. It looks like there's fireworks behind him, even though it's a giant explosion. That page, the I Shall Prevail panel is...
They're shooting behind him because there's energon running through the couplings or whatever, and that's when they have the big explosion, and he's like, I shall prevail, because it's Megatron. Of course he'd say that.
Yep.
And Superion knocks Devastator on his block, because he's not fighting back now, because he's shut down.
Dead.
Yeah.
He's Devastator.
He's dead in the water.
Yep.
And everything looks great. Hey, the Autobots are finally getting, back on their feet.
Finally winning, and then, uh-oh. Devastator comes back to life.
Yes.
That's not good.
Yeah. Because Prowl, it's hard to keep him down. Anyhow, so he says, when I feel doubt creeping in, and it's good because it's they're showing the conflict, they're showing stuff that's going on, the Autobots, the Decepticons, in different panels, but throughout they're just they're showing that he's trying to kind of come back without attempting to really come back, and I kind of liked that. Prowl basically is trying to gain control again, but he's and Anyhow, he says, when I feel doubt creeping in a couple panels, and then he says, I think about Spike Witwicky, and then the lights come on, and you're like, oh no.
Oh no.
I tried to tell myself I couldn't be what Spike was, that I can't do what he did, that creature isn't me anymore, but Bombshell took the choice away. Now I am the device.
Yep.
But Bombshell doesn't control me. Prowl doesn't control me. I am not Prowl. And it's Devastator basically waking up, getting up, Superion not seeing that he's right behind him, and I am Devastator and nothing will control me. So Devastator basically is taking control, and he comes up behind Superion and rips him in two.
Yep, pretty much.
My gosh. It's just,
oh my gosh.
That's the end of that issue too, and it's just like, oh, we're not done yet. He's back online.
Yeah, it's like, the more I keep hitting him, the more he keeps getting up.
Yeah. Meanwhile, some of the dialogue that's going through here is basically that Metal Hawk is insisting that they go and save Starscream, which is kind of important for the next issue. And Bumblebee's all right. I guess we'll do that. Then he kind of comes along with him and says we'll do that. And that's what sets up the next issue and the things that are happening there. So, yep. Which leads us to issue 16.
Issue 16, the finale for this arc.
Yep. And boy, is it a good one.
Yeah, the cover A is Devastator with all of the other Autobots and Starscream basically fighting him.
Yep.
Really, really cool. Andrew did an amazing job on this.
This is a very beautiful cover. It's, everybody take on Prowlestator.
Yep. And of course I can always tell when Bumblebee or Ironhide are doing the narration because they usually do like a yellow outline
or red,
or a red. It sometimes is a little hard for me to decide. Like earlier in this episode of the podcast, when I wasn't sure if it had switched from Wheeljack to Starscream or somebody else. The colors, sometimes they got to work on the colors a little bit for some of these inner monologues.
Yeah.
But Bumblebee and Prowl, that's easy.
Yeah, they are pretty easy to do that. So, which is funny because I think at the beginning of this, I thought it was not Prowl, but Bumblebee started it. Mm-hmm. It starts with him saying, "This is the story of the end of the world."
Right, but what I'm saying is earlier in today's episode, there was a point where Wheeljack was narrating for 2 issues, and then it switched to Starscream. But the colors they looked similar to.
They didn't put the colors, and I don't think they even put any colors on those ones.
No, not much. So Bumblebee starts, and that is a gun in his hand. I thought it was his cane. I was actually hoping it was his cane. But that is a gun in his hand.
There's the shock stick in the other one. He's sticking it to the next person with that. So
yeah.
Yep. No, this is the cane. It just transformed into a gun.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing. I really don't know that for sure.
Okay. So we get this crazy opening battle scene.
There's a lot of yellow and a lot of purple here.
Yep. Hey, look, it's the G2 Constructicon colors.
Awesome.
Or I should say the yellow G1 Constructicon colors, because there was a few times where the G1 Devastator toy was yellow. But yeah, we've got a lot of purple and yellow. We've got Bumblebee and Metal Hawk arguing back and forth, and
basically what it's about is that Bumblebee wants to kill Megatron, and right now I would say that if that opportunity presented itself, Bumblebee would not hesitate, especially since like the first chance he gave him, he didn't kill him, and then when the tables were turned, Megatron absolutely wanted him dead, did not hesitate. I don't think I don't think Bumblebee is hesitating now, but the whole point is that Metal Hawk is getting kind of trying to point out is basically that he wants revenge on a Decepticon, whereas Metal Hawk wants to save a friend, a
Yeah.
Cybertronian specifically. It's still, I guess the point that they're trying to drive home here is the fact that he's still seeing them as Decepticons, Autobots, males. That he's keeping them separated instead of saying, like, we're all one, we're all Cybertronians, basically. And it's understandable because that's been the regime for so long. Autobots versus Decepticons. Decepticons versus Autobots.
Yep.
So, of course it would be ingrained into him. And it's very hard to un-ingrain that.
Very true. I love this big splash page because it almost reminds me of a little bit. It's not exactly the where the bots are on this giant page where Turmoil asks Megatron if Devastator has gone mad. It almost reminds me of the Transformers the movie poster. The 86 movie poster, because you've got the giant in the background and you've got all the other bots around him.
And suddenly now he's got lasers off his shoulders.
I thought, you're right.
I don't remember that being there before.
No, I don't remember that being there before.
I don't think he needed him out when he was punching, Superion.
No, yeah.
So now, like, proper things are going down. It's just crazy.
Yeah. It's all out war, and it's really interesting that John is able, it's interesting that John is able to work the dialogue into these battle scenes because, I could just not necessarily saying make my own dialogue, but I could just assume what's happening here as far as who's beating up who. But it's awesome. It really, really is. Let's see.
I like the fact that Megatron says to Starscream that Starscream's friends can be counted on to take care of the situation with Devastator, right? And he's like, they're not my friends. One of them definitely is.
Yes.
But yeah, basically he says, okay, well, that's unforeseen that Devastator got taken out, but then the fact that he's back up, he's like, he's crazy and he's on our side. Who cares? The Autobots will find a way to take him out eventually, so let's use it to our advantage.
We get to more battle scenes. We get to RC shooting Skywarp, I believe.
Yep, that was kind of brilliant.
And
she able to get him mid-vop.
Oh, dang. Oh, yeah, I see the upper left-hand corner, where he teleported from.
He teleported from her right side to her left, and she nailed him.
She nailed him.
Yep.
Quite literally. Well, then we then see her versus
Rumble.
I
know.
I'm
going to say Rumble because it says Rumble, but yeah.
Yeah.
But Ironhide actually takes him out, and that's when he says he's gotta. You guys handling things here? The scene between him and RC is cute because he's like, yeah. He introduces the Dinobots to her, and then he's like, I gotta go. Can you handle the rest of the cons? And she's like, with 5 Dinobots, I can retake the planet. He says, we only have 4. Then I'll see what I can do. Where are you going? He's like, where else? He's going. He gets pitched up into the air to go and try and knock some sense into Prowl. Because that's what, Ironhide does. He punches things.
Quite literally.
Not only does he punch Insecticons, traitors,
help
Dinobots,
make the right choice.
He's going to make Prowl make the right choice, yeah.
It just... the scale... We know that Transformers and scale... The brand of Transformers and the term scale never really, mesh well together in a lot of things. And just seeing a small-ass Ironhide basically bop Devastator right in the nose, the juxtaposition of how large Devastator's head is compared to how small Ironhide's body is just amazing. And then we get, and this is finally Bumblebee comes to a realization. If only they'd listened. If only people had trusted me. If only I had been a better leader. Yep. It only took you 15 issues to realize this.
Bumble baggage.
Yep, pretty much. Ironhide, you're alive? Oh man. I do love the next panel after.
Oh, that's right, because he doesn't even know that he's alive still. Again, He's the last to know everything. No one sends him the memos. He doesn't ever read his email. Yeah, you got to be connected there, Bumblebee.
Yeah.
No, he's like, Bumblebee or Ironhide, you're alive. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm alive. Why did you ever doubt? Ironhide. This is the dude that freed Cybertron from all of the Insecticon horde. You should know better.
Yeah. So.
And then it just gets crazy. I mean, it's like all out.
It's
shoot one direction, shoot another direction. Metal Hawk running in front of everybody to try and go save Starscream, and doing it. Meanwhile, they're all, he taking his arm slicers and knifing people.
Yeah.
Losing an arm, but then using that arm to take out a guy.
Mm-hmm. The whole shooting scenes here with the Autobots and the Decepticons reminds me of the Return of Optimus Prime, when Skylynx is recapping for Optimus what happened and talking about the hate plague and the spores, and he's like, it was Autobot against Autobot and Decepticon against Decepticon. That's what this whole battle scene reminds me of.
Awesome. So, like I said, he saves Starscream. He loses an arm while doing it, and then Turmoil basically corners both Starscream and Metal Hawk. And then Starscream, who's been waiting for the perfect opportunity, and Turmoil basically calls him an opportunist. This is a pacifist, which is Metal Hawk, and an opportunist. Yeah. And that's when, Starscream says, opportunist. I like that, Turmoil. You're not the first person to call me that, but I like it. Thing with opportunists, don't show them opportunities. And he picks up Metal Hawk's fallen arm with the knife wrist thing.
Yeah, the
and
wing. Yeah.
Cuts off his turret gun and then slices right down the middle of his head with it. It takes out Turmoil. What?
Yeah. Turmoil. Yeah, he's done.
And then, as he falls over, he says, "Call me coward again."
I know. I love that line.
Oh no, he kicks him over. He kicks him. Yeah. Call me coward again.
He kicks him like, how do you feel, mighty Megatron?
Yeah.
Astro Train, transform and get us out of here.
I used to love that line. I remember when I was a kid, my brothers thought that line was so funny, especially because you had that little thunk in there.
Yep.
They played it over and over and over and over again. We just laughed ourselves silly. Good times.
So we get back to Ironhide trying to talk some sense into Prowl. I love the art in this book. These artists do such a good job.
It was just so gorgeous, and Josh Perez really colored this to heaven and back. He just really gushed over it. And I remember even at the time, because I was kind of talking with him off and on, he was just saying, I love this book so much. I put so much into it. And it really is. It's a work of love. The colors just seem to pop off the page, and they just vibrate with this sense of excitement that he's like, I'm working on this book and it's awesome. I mean, it shows in his work. It just how much love he lavished on this. It's great.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. We get to here.
We go back to the Needle Nose arc. Needle Nose, who's all out. I'm a Decepticon, and basically Swindle wasn't as broken as we thought he was, and he's saving everybody that he could pull out of the. He's helping Blur, who got him out of the way, and Needlenose catches him and is like, are you, you're saving people, you're collecting dead Autobots, and he's like, no, I'm really actually just saving this guy, and then he realizes he was just, joshing with him, and he's like, oh yeah, he's making fun of you, and he's about to shoot him to say goodbye, and the Nails step in, and it's Zetka that says, you ruined my life, you beat me, and then one of the other, and Tappa says, and me, you murdered our friends, and so basically he gets scared because there's a whole lot more of those Nails than him, and he drops his gun and runs away.
Yeah, I love
it's like
that.
So much for being a tyrant. Yeah, Decepticons, until you get all of the Nails coming at you, and then you drop your gun and run away. It's funny. Swindle's completely like, wow, you saved me? Really? I'm Swindle. Yeah.
Would you like to buy a gun?
Would you like to buy a gun? Yeah.
I am sorry. I cannot see Swindle in any other light than the arms, like the dealer, the guy that has everything for every occasion.
I have to say, I think in a sense, a little bit of that might be on the back burner a little bit. I think he's trying to try out this idea of just being a normal guy, because he hasn't been that guy since like Robots in Disguises started, and he's been on Cybertron. Like before this, he was working with Dirge in the waste disposal area. And not once has he said anything. Would you like to make a deal? Would you like to buy a gun? We see him even today in the Windblade series, and he's that guy that's hanging out in the bar, and he hasn't said that either. So I'm like, I think he's really just, in terms of, you've got some Autobots that are really wearing this whole idea that, yes, we're Cybertronians now, we're not Autobots and Decepticons. The war's over. We're getting back to regular life. We've got the camera crew. We've got the bar scene people. We've got the people that are actually trying to get back to just a daily life. And I think Swindle is on the Decepticon side, that guy that's kind of trying it out, seeing what it's all about and stuff like that. Now, I hope he doesn't stay that way forever, but it's kind of it's a new thing for him. But I think he's wearing it really well. I think what they've been doing with him so far seems to be working.
Absolutely.
I mean, John's doing a good job taking characters that you think that they should not be that person, but yet he's been wearing it fairly well. I mean, he hasn't been making deals left and right yet. And I expect him to eventually go back to that. But, I'm kind of glad that they're running with it like it is right now. It seems to really be working for Swindle. He's still that guy. He's still fun. He still says the quirky things and that are just very him. And I have to say, I still love his design. I still love the glasses.
Yeah, I do really love his design.
Yeah.
So we get back to Ironhide and Prowlistator, and Ironhide trying to convince Prowl to come out, and we get what I love about this one is we get 3 different color eyes. We get red, yellow, and blue.
It's him taking control again.
Right.
And he's like, now's the time to back down. And he's like, impossible. Why do you persist? It's like, and then he gives him a moment where he says, where he talks about like what he saw the future, and that's not what it was going to be. Went into the wilderness. He started to doubt that things are so black and white. And basically it says, we don't have to be what we are, we can change. Mm-hmm. And then he goes, doubt, change, doubt. I doubt. And that is able to connect to him. And he goes from the red eyes to the other eyes to the blue eyes.
The blue eyes. And
then can't be this. And even the word bubbles are like purple with the yellow.
Yeah.
And as he says, can't be this, it turns white.
Yeah. And he rips his own head off.
Yeah.
Off with his head.
And underneath, there's a little Prowl.
Yep, pretty much.
I wonder if the head is still like hanging around somewhere on, in Dark Cybertron. They run past it or something. That's Devastator's ex-head, the head that Prowl ripped off. Yeah.
So
they all
Prowl
fall apart.
is
great.
Yeah. So Prowl and Ironhide have a touching moment, and
I like this. I'm me. You're you.
Bumblebee's like, later, Prowl. Right now, we got work to do.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh, Bumblebee has an Ultra Magnus line. Showtime's over. We got work to do. I swear. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not trying to say this whole arc is Transformers the movie, but there's so many things in this that remind me of lines from the movie.
And that's the thing, is they're not obviously trying to be. It's like
right.
It's running through it again and just talking about it out loud and going,
yep.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like so and so.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say it out loud like that, and I'm like, oh, you're right. It's so totally that. And I didn't even see it the last 2 times I've read through this. And you're like, oh yeah, that's
yep.
He's doing that. I mean, you see it where it's like cheesy and it's like really meant to be that line, like till all are one, And
but see, I expect that now. I mean,
yeah.
even after I read the first 3 volumes of More Than Meets the Eye, I expected Rodimus to say that over and over and over again.
Oh.
I mean, that's
his thing now. But like, I'm just saying, any time where they've been cheesy, it's Optimus Prime is getting to the end of the line and he says, the epic words.
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing where it's absolutely meant to homage G1 and be that line. This is them making the lines without actually intentionally being, but that's exactly. I mean, it's in a very subtle way, being just a very Transformers line without trying.
Absolutely.
To. So that's what I like about it. I mean, I think that if anybody reads that and sees that. I mean, it can be incredibly cheesy when they do it like that, but this is not trying to be that at all.
Oh, no.
And I just think it just tells how well John is as a writer, that he can put something in there and be very subtle about it and make it work. And it doesn't,
and I think
doesn't
it
deter me from wanting to read it.
Right. And I think it depends on it depends on who the reader is, and depends on what your Transformers knowledge is.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to infer from what they've seen before.
True.
But
I've seen in fans lately, at least the hardcore fans, it seems, that they don't want... it's not that they don't want those homages, they just don't want the cheesy ones. They want the ones that make sense, that don't pull out the cheese just because the writers can. Like, the last one that I saw that I thought people were like, about, at least that the people that I know in certain circles, I think Autocracy did it just a little bit too much. Mm-hmm. Which isn't necessarily bad, because the new fans that maybe hadn't picked up Transformers for a while, because I was reading different reviews just to see, there were people that actually genuinely loved that. And I liked reading their reviews because they were basically admitting, I haven't even looked at Transformers in the last 10, 15 years. But to see that in Autocracy kind of homaged back to what I remember G1 being. And so they're having a G1 experience. And I can appreciate that from their point of view. I didn't see it until they until they shared that. And then I was like, I can see why that would appeal to that. Right.
And I think the other thing with the Ausities is that, or Autocracy, Monstrosity, and Primacy.
Yeah.
It's Flint. It's the guy that
that made the lines to begin with, right?
Yeah.
He's the original.
Yeah. All right. So Megatron comes in, says, very good Autobots. I assumed you would stop an out-of-control Devastator, but I hope you're proud of yourselves, regardless. Megatron, you did this? Indeed. I have single-handedly changed the course of history. Oh, boy.
And he's about to do it again.
Wait, no. He is not about to... We're not going to get a Mega Devastator hit, are we?
No, we totally are. That's exactly what he's about to do.
Are you serious? Oh,
Yeah.
thank God for Dirge and Side. I think that's Sideswipe on the other.
Is it?
No. It's Megatron. Sorry, I saw red and I thought it was Sideswipe.
No, he's
So
about. Dirge
go ahead.
tries to come at him and say no, and he shoots him. Oh, poor Dirge. He never gets a break either.
No.
And this is when, yeah, this is the brilliant point.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, okay, so Prowl says, B, I have an idea. It'll probably kill us and most of the city. And then, Ironhide's talking, but anything's better than, and then Bumblebee has a moment. He's like, shut, shh. I just remembered something important. And remember when Wheeljack said, Bumblebee, remember what's most important? And it's calling back to one of the previous issues where he said the three most important words in the Cybertronian language. And he says, dang it! System bypass code word, Wheeljack. And then Prowl's like, Wheeljack? And then everybody's like, Wheeljack? He says it 3 times, and it causes the force shield that they had put in the original, like when they showed up at the very beginning of this volume, basically in issue number 13, I believe, where no, it was issue 12 when he came back in there. Wheeljack took a hold of him, put this force shield thing. I guess he built it into his system. They didn't take it out. The force shield comes up, and it keeps him from combining with Devastator.
All I can think of is Michael Keaton needed to show up at this moment because they use a name 3 times. Beetlejuice.
Brilliant. So Wheeljack bests Megatron.
Yep.
Well, yeah. It was Wheeljack because it was Wheeljack that put it in there, and it was just Bumblebee. It was like, oh, yeah.
So we get
Poor Wheeljack.
poor Wheeljack. We get
He's
Megatron.
a hero, and he's out for the count.
Yeah, he's gone. So we get Megatron back in the force shield. Metal Hawk comes up.
Now these guys are not together. They're not with the rest of the group. They just took out Turmoil. They just took out Megatron. They're a little ways away from everybody.
Yeah.
And Wheeljack is like, or not Wheeljack, Metal Hawk is, what happened? And Starscream's like, Wheeljack happened. He never got credit. He never got enough credit. Must have integrated one of his force field belts into Megatron's spark casing. Yeah.
Yep. And
it's all over, except for the announcement or the denouement. Yes, it's over. Mostly.
Yeah, it's over. It's over for Metal Hawk, is what it is.
Yeah.
Because Starscream shoots him with that big FG.
Yeah, he's just trying to tell him about responsibility, trying to give him the pep talk that says, hey, Chosen One, you're responsible now, blah, 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 blah. And he sees back to this idea of opportunist. Yep. Yeah, well, I'm not going to let a fellow Cybertron die for no reason. Now, for the sake of expedience, on the other hand, and he picks up the gun and he shoots Metal Hawk. And you're like, what the hell?
Yep. Crazy stuff.
What the hell?
And he does.
And Metal Hawk's doing the same thing. It's like, I thought you were my friend. I was.
Yep.
I just want this more. He's going to use his death to pull power.
Of course. It's Starscream. He may be a coward, but he's a very cunning coward.
It's just Metal Hawk is your man. After everything that you've done up until this point, he's been the dude that's still kind of standing next to you saying you could be this person that could be this great leader. And he can't let go of the sleaze. He just can't let go of it. And he kills his only friend. It's just like, oh.
Jesus. And you're right, he does use it because later, after we get the whole wounded scene and we get a semi-touching moment between RC and Dirge.
Yeah, I know.
That's a little weird.
Yeah.
That's a little strange. And then we get
Bumblebee still can't remember Tappet's name, unfortunately. Yeah, you can't remember my name. A leader that can't remember the name of the people that he leads. Jeez.
And then we get Starscream and his
Another
speech.
another speech, yeah. Another speech.
And this is where he uses Metalhawk's death to basically win him the election.
Yeah, he's like, something bigger. He talks about how he, told him something bigger responsibility, blah, blah, blah. And
He split open
around
his
you,
cockpit.
people of Cybertron, look at the symbols, Autobot and Decepticon. Look at them and cast them out. No more coups, no more implanting of chips, no more secret assassins, no more cover-ups, no more factions. And he rips his own faction sign off and says, "Are you with me?" And people supported him.
Yeah. Here's the thing about this. I don't approve of him ripping his own cockpit off. I wish he would have just had something on his thumb and just did like some sort of blank rub sign move where it just rubbed the symbol out, because it looks weird seeing the inside of his chest. It looks weird.
I'd have to say I did kind of like it. I liked him.
I mean, I liked it. I thought it was a cool move because you don't expect it from Starscream. And this is something that for new readers, first of all, anybody that's a new reader to this series, go back to the beginning. Go back to Death of Optimus Prime and make your choice, or choose both. But for new readers, this is going to be something completely different for them, because no one has ever seen a Starscream like this. Yes, there are the standard trademarks of him being a coward, him being a schemer, but like him being a politician, that's something completely.
But he plays it so well.
Oh, absolutely. So we pretty much end on Bumblebee, giving us all this monologue. He says
the people spoke, and their story ended, and the Autobots and the Decepticons were cast out into the wilderness, and you see them going their separate ways. The Autobots go their way, the Decepticons go their way. Everybody got cast out unless they decided to not choose a side and just be who they were. And while it's monologuing, you've got basically Starscream digging through the rubble to find his crown. It's like, and they chose Starscream. The city and the planet are his. I hated every moment. I tried to rule Cybertron, but I did it anyway because I knew, if not me, him.
Yep.
This was the story of the end of the world, the story of hubris and trust and doing the right thing. It was the story of power, of who leads and who is led, who deserves it and who desires it. Heavy is the head.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Yep.
And the
end splash page is Starscream wearing his crown, doing his best Superman impression.
Yeah, all I can think of is Coronation Starscream. This is bad comedy.
Yeah, this is bad comedy. If you think it's just like, oh man, everybody's kicked out and Starscream rules. I'm just like, you get to the end of this, and of course, after 16 issues, this was the end game, and you just kind of look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, he totally pulled it off.
Exactly.
He finally got it. He finally won. And you're just like, this is crazy.
And then when we get to next time around, when we talk about Volume 5,
yeah.
even though I don't know how and why they picked, maybe it was to throw off suspicion. I don't know how and why they picked the cover they picked for the Volume 5 trade, which is basically Starscream and his crown just standing there in that Superman pose.
Yeah.
But Volume 5, at least I've started reading it for our record later at some point for this coming up week, and the first chapter 17, nothing to do with Star. It all shifts to Shockwave. I am absolutely. This arc was great. As much as I said originally that I was skeptical about this book because of it being political,
Hmm.
I want Cybertron politics in real life, really seriously. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean you're right. The next volume we get basically 2 issues of
we get
Shockwave.
we get we get 3 of Shockwave and 3 of Soundwave, and then it's Dark Cybertron. 17 to 19 is Shockwave, and then 20 to 22 is Soundwave, and 23 on is Dark Cybertron.
Let's see, 20? Is 20 that as well? It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
20 is not. I'm looking at it right now, and it's not.
Oh, is it start? Okay.
It's just those 2 issues. One goes to the. It goes pretty quick. One goes to the planet that's kind of weird, crazy planet, and then the next one goes back to Gorlam Prime.
Okay. See, I the only reason why I said it was 3 and 3 is because I remember them doing. Oh, I know what it was. It was 3 because I remember them doing one of those combined covers where it's same background, but it's Starscream, Shockwave, and Soundwave as a whole collage. Yeah. That's why I thought it was okay. So just to kind of wrap this up, we have all the alternate covers in the trade: Megatron, Prowl, Starscream, Bumblebee.
Yeah, all the ones basically that were available for the RI covers. All of the covers, all of them were included at the very end. If they had 2 in between, and then they had.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Overall, I loved this. I thought this was great.
This was a year's worth of building up to. It was fantastic. It was one of those ones that I highly recommend. This is why I say you have to read Robots in Disguise, because if you read it from the very beginning, this was all the payoff that everybody that had been waiting for the last year finally got. And it wasn't just 1 issue payoff, it was 6. Or it was, 5. I take that back, it was 5. So you get 5 really great, well-paced, explosive issues that just, it was, just when you thought, oh, we're going to finally get this, then it was like, no, we're going to get this nice, well-built meal of several issues. And for a while there, it was just like boom, boom, boom. So much really great stuff was going on. It was the thing to read. I mean, I know sometimes we're like, running on about More Than Meets the Eye, but it was like this arc, this 5-issue arc was really well done. And it, like I said, it came after a whole year's worth of setup. It was perfect timing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I remember when I first read this, before rereading it for the record, and I remember when I first read it, and I was like, holy crap, what is going on with Prowl? Holy crap, the Black Room, that means those Decepticons aren't dead.
Yeah.
And then just seeing the whole reveal of it, and just it reminds me of a G1 episode where they're hiding in a trench.
Uh-huh.
And the Autobots actually drive by the trench, and one of the, I don't think it might have been Starscream, says, "Why do we have to hide? Why can't we?" Because it's not time, Starscream. Megatron just replies to him, "It's not time, Starscream." Overall, I got to give this trade a 5-star rating.
I think that is absolutely fair to say it's worth it, because
I could nitpick on RC. Her face design changes constantly.
Yeah.
It depends on the angles, I think, but I could nitpick that, but I'm not going to take a point off just because of that.
No.
The art overall, Andrew and the rest of the team did amazing.
It's very consistent. Andrew, he has an organic feel to his stuff. It's not as technically precise like Alex Milnes is, but there's a very character driven feel to it that just it's so unique, but yet it's so consistent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he just has this really unique style, and it's I like it. I've liked it for a while. I've liked pretty much everything that he does. It's not Alex Milne. It's Andrew Griffith. He's got his own style, and I really like the fact that that IDW's pretty content with letting those styles kind of come through.
Yeah,
with each of the writers or each of the artists. That's what I'm trying to say. We've been talking for 3 hours.
I know.
My brain is starting to shut down now. But yeah, Andrew has a really interesting, just a very unique style that I really, really like. Each one of the artists do, but just for him to be able to pump out this much work month after month after month and keep up with it and just do, 5 issues straight of just nothing but Andrew. And this was a very, very intense volume to do. Yeah. I think he did an extraordinarily well job. So
Andrew did a very well done job on the art and the drawing. Everybody that was on colors and inks, it just.
I think most of it was actually done by Perez. And I think I think the volume actually does credit Brian Shearer. I'm gonna look at it real quick and make sure.
Yeah, it does.
So I know Brian helped out a little bit in the inking. Even I know that Andrew's done a lot of his inking, but it credited both Andrew and Brian.
Right.
But yeah, pretty solid volume. You're going to get very consistent art in this one because it was all pretty much just the core group of robots in disguise.
Absolutely. All right, where can the people interact with you online if they would like to do so?
Well, the best way to find me is on Twitter because I tweet a lot. But you can also find me on the Underbase because if I'm not on the review, I am editing in the background. So if you don't hear my voice, I actually I'm the one that's doing all the editing and the behind the scenes. And that's where you can find me. So.
Absolutely. Next time, Amy and I are going to do Volume 5 of Robots in Disguise. It will be a lot shorter episode because I actually still have the single issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it on Comixology, and when we go through it, I will have the issues in hand.
Gotcha.
It's kind of the same thing that happened with The More Than Meets the Eye, Volume 4 and 5. Volume 4, I did exactly what we did now.
Yeah.
And then Volume 5, Nicole and I just went through the issues as we're going along. So that's what's coming up here in the pull bag. You guys got any interviews over on the Underbase coming up?
Not any planned, but I've in the next couple months I'd like to get a couple people on. So, I have a list of people that I'm trying to that I'd like. It's just summer and the convention season is just kind of, and then getting pregnant too.
Yeah, that
I have a lot of things that I'm juggling.
Yes,
so
yes, you do.
Yeah. Well, we will have some more interviews soon.
Awesome. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Pull Bag Back Issue Classics. We will catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
You've just heard the latest episode of the Pull Bag, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.